Welcome to the Adventures on the Outer Rim Graveyard Shift. We have a motley collection of players here who are going to be engaged in taking a group of pilgrims to the site of Alderaan's destruction. Alderaanians who survived the destruction of their planet by the Death Star and now make regular pilgrimage back to the site of their homeland to pay respects to all those people who lost their lives in that terrible tragedy, which only occurred a short time ago as this game goes. So, first of all, I'm going to ask the players to introduce themselves and say a little bit about their characters. So, Alan, if we can get you to go first.
Hi everybody, my name is Alan. I'm going to be playing a smuggler, scoundrel, lovable rogue called Austin Earhart, but he likes to be called Flash. He was originally from Alderaan and was at boarding school when the Death Star destroyed the planet, so at the end of one semester he was going back home, and when he dropped out of hyperspace, his planet wasn't there anymore. Since then he's been just kind of making a living off his wits, gambling, cheating people, kind of the odd bit of contraband trading, whatever, just to make a few credits. And yeah, every year he makes a annual pilgrimage back to Alderaan to pay his respects to his friends and family. And on this instance, he's hitched a ride on a ship with the fellow members of the group. So without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves. Looking forward to the game. Thank you.
That's great, thanks very much. Okay, Kaya, if you can say a bit about your character.
Hi, my name's Caius, and this is my very first game of Edge of the Empire, or any other Star Wars game for that matter. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be playing the part of Beric Noor, a human bounty hunter who, while he's following, he's trying to track down a hit, but he's kind of lost track of him at the moment, so he's just taken a job as the bodyguard of an old Alderaanian woman who is she was widowed when Alderaan was destroyed, and she's making her way on a pilgrimage to see the remains of her family and where her family were destroyed. And because she's old and a bit frail, she's employed me as her bodyguard just to make her feel a bit more secure. I'm very bored on the trip, and one time, I don't know why, but maybe maybe there was a bit of sickness, or the guy got drunk, but they lacked a captain or somebody to pilot the ship. So I've actually taken a turn at piloting the ship, and I've got in with the crew a bit.
Okay, that's great. Then we turn to Sam. If you can introduce yourself and say a bit about your character, please, Sam.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Sam. I have the YouTube channel Chalice and Chains, so check that out. I am extremely grateful, John, for you running this game. I put up a post in the Tides of Change group, and John was able to run it, and I was able to get a UK-friendly time slot for once in my life, so that was awesome, or somewhat UK-friendly, I would suspect. So I'm appreciative of that there. I'm glad to be playing with this group. I've actually played with everyone in one respect or another except Alan, so that's great. And my character is Sekus Proko. He is a Quarren technician outlaw tech. And he has a bit of a troubled history, and he's extremely nervous that there's a bounty hunter on board because he actually was responsible for stealing the ship, the Midnight Runner Mark II that we are currently on, as a way of escaping slavery, or virtual slavery, from a Hutt outlaw, a Hutt crime lord. And he happened to steal the ship from a Rhodian outlaw named Suvo Tako, who is none too pleased that his ship is missing. But on the way that I was able to do it was with the help of a Twi'lek slave dancer in the Hutt's compound, and I don't know her name, I don't know much about her, but she was able to unlock the hangar bay and to help temporarily disable the tractor beam that was keeping the ship there. So I owe this woman my freedom, and someday I hope to be able to pay that back. And fortunately, when I got on board, although I have some skill in piloting, I befriended the R2 droid, who we will meet next, the astromech droid, who was the property or companion or whatever of the former owner of the ship and wasn't treated too well. And because I get along better with droids than I do with people most of the time, we struck up a bit of a quirky friendship. So I'll leave it there, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, R2C4, or Faldor as the droid prefers to be known. Please say a little bit about yourself.
Okay, everyone. My name is Kali, also known as Kronos in some places, and I'll be playing the R2 unit R2C4, also known as Faldor because he has this right in his head, and he doesn't know where he got that because his memory was erased by the previous owner of the ship, and when the ship was getting stolen, he just went and was so happy to be free from that horrible owner. And now he is with Sam and this crew, and he's happier than he was before.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. With a little droid noise of happiness there. Splendid. Okay, so the way it seems to be looking at the minute, guys, is we've basically got Flash, Alan's character, who is an Alderaanian, who, for obvious reasons, wants to travel back to Alderaan and has effectively hitched a ride with you guys along with the other Alderaanians. We have Beric Nor, who is escorting an elderly Alderaanian woman. Been looking a little bit bored, as though the job's not really challenging him that much. After all, he's a bounty hunter, not really a babysitter. During the trip, he's done a sort of a little bit of a turn at the controls, you know, just to give the rest of you a break. And we've effectively got Sekas Proko, the Quarren Outlaw, as the owner, not entirely legitimately, but he's currently the owner of the Midnight Runner Mark II, a Gutrock light freighter. For those of you who may be aware, that's the one that looks a little bit like a turtle. And he is accompanied by Faldor, the R2 unit, who was on board the ship, who had been quite badly mistreated by the Rhodian, the employee of the Hutt, who used to actually own the ship previously, actually helped, along with this Twi'lek slave girl, them to steal the ship. Now, that's established roughly where we are and what your relationships are at the start of the game. Does anyone have anything they want to say about these relationships, or extra ideas they want to throw in there, or are you guys all happy to jump straight in?
I'm good to go.
Okay, splendid. Looks like everyone's good to go. Okay, we begin the game with your ship stationary, only using sort of atmospheric thrusters to maintain its position on the very edge of the graveyard, as it's become known, which is all that remains of the planet Alderaan after it was destroyed. Originally, little information filtered out about what had actually caused the destruction, but by now it's well known that some sort of Imperial superweapon was used to destroy the planet. The weapon itself was then destroyed under fairly mysterious circumstances, since the Empire has clamped down on that information. There are rumours that the burgeoning Rebel Alliance was behind it, but it's difficult to get any exact information. And anyone who pries too deeply into prohibited Imperial business tends to disappear or get into trouble very quickly. So a lot of people are still unsure about it. What it has done, though, is those Alderaanians who were away from the planet when it was destroyed, it sort of welded them together as a more tightly knit community, since they all now share this tragedy in common. They've all lost loved ones, families, homes, etc. And it started to become something of a tradition that many of them, when they can, make a pilgrimage to the hugely dense asteroid field that now stretches out in front of your ship. And they just say solemn prayers there. Some of them burn incense. They make small offerings in the hope that it may bring some peace both to them and the souls of loved ones that were lost. In the cargo bay of the Midnight Runner Mark II, at the moment, the group of Alderaanians who have been bought here by yourself, arranged via a Bothan contact of Secus Proco, who sort of brokered the deal on behalf of a Kubaz known as Darspa Algedi, who was acting as the man who was arranging transportation for this group of Alderaanians. He is on board. He has the strange sort of long elephantine nose of his race and the visor-like goggles that protect his sensitive eyes from light. He wears a cloak and hood, and he's just stood in the cargo bay watching as this group of Alderaanians are kneeling down. Several of them have their eyes shut and their hands clasped together in prayer. Some of them are burning small candles, although you've had to limit it a little bit. It's obviously oxygen supply on board the ship. You don't want to burn through all of that. Now, whilst that's going on, you've probably been here for a couple of hours, nothing much has particularly happened. Whereabouts would you guys be in the ship while this ceremony is taking place? Let's start with Sekas.
So I would probably be tinkering around in the engineering bay, checking systems, making sure that everything looks good. And the problem with that is that while I fancy myself quite the technician, I'm actually not all that intelligent. So I'm desperately hoping that what I'm seeing is meaning that our ship is okay. And I'm trying to stay as far away from Barak Noor as possible. He's making me very, very uneasy. So I imagine that, you know, and I'm kind of awkward around the Alderaanians, not really caring much about their cause, but, you know, valuing getting out of hut space, getting somewhere that I can kind of, you know, escape this possible threat to me, although very nervous about getting this close to the Empire with my history with them. So yeah, for now, that's what I'm doing, just kind of tinkering.
Okay, no problems. Now, I'm assuming that Barak Noor and Mr. Earhart are in the cargo bay with the Alderaanians. Would that be correct?
Yeah, Aston is down in the cargo bay, looking quite somber. Which is unusual for him because he's usually a very happy-go-lucky kind of chap. But yeah, this time he's in the cargo bay with his fellow Alderaanians, looking quite somber, downcast, and lost in thought, basically, while he seems to be in remembrance and remembering friends and family he used to know.
Okay, go ahead.
And Barak Noor is leaning at the back of the cargo bay against the wall, just slightly irritating everybody by tapping against the metal with his fingers. And he's actually he knows he's on a smuggler's ship, and he's just tapping against the metal, trying to hear for sort of hidden compartments behind the metal barriers. And he's sort of going from one to the other, but he's tapping, he's slightly irritating and interrupting the meditations of the Alderaanians as they're contemplating their lost love.
Okay, no problems.
Not doing it deliberately, but it's still having the effect.
Okay, and what about Faldor? Where is Faldor while this is going on?
Faldor is in the cockpit and he's plugged in the system of the ship, seeing if there is any repairs that he can and must do already, or if the ship is okay, just routine maintenance to see if everything is okay.
Okay, at which point then, for the first roll of the game, Faldor, can I ask you to make me a perception roll? It is difficulty 3, so that'll be 3 purple dice in your pool, plus whatever your perception dice are.
Perception, okay. And it's a failure.
Okay, no problems. Now, unfortunately, you've sort of taken your eye off the scanners a little bit since you're looking around the other systems, the secondary systems, things you can repair, etc. Then you're all taken by surprise when a bright flash of red, which casts this sort of blood red glow over the entire ship. Anyone who has been in any form of space combat will recognize it as a large turbo laser blast. It flashes past the front of your ship, no more than a couple of meters from the nose of your vessel.
And with that, kind of feeling that and sensing it, because I wouldn't necessarily see it, but feeling the jolt and the sizzling sound, of that laser blast, kind of the shot across the bow, I immediately jam my hand on the nearest comm sensor, and I say, and we're like right outside the asteroid field, right?
Yeah, you're literally just on the edge of the asteroid field.
Okay, and I slam my hand on the comm link, and I say, Faldor, what was that? Do we have Imperials?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just felt something. Ah!
Quick, get on the scanners. And I'll try to boost up the aft shields if I need to.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can do that. Okay. Looking on the scanners, Faldor, you see what appears to be a large wedge-shaped vessel approaching you. It's still sort of several hundred miles away, but it's moving incredibly quickly. There's no doubt in your mind that the laser blast came from that ship. And as Sekas rightly surmised, it would appear to have been a warning shot across your bow.
I respond to Sekas. I don't know, man. I guess it's better we get out of here.
And I'm slightly cursing under my breath in in my native tongue, and then again I slam my hand down on the comm link, and there's feedback for a minute. It was like, and then I'm like, all right, my friend, it's time to get us into the asteroid field. That thing shouldn't be able to follow us in there. Let's do it. And then I kind of switch the comm to kind of go through the whole ship, and I'm like, all right, everyone, we have some Imperials. It's time to brace yourselves, and we may want to get to stations.
Okay, Barak Noor, as this announcement rings out through the ship that you might have some Imperial problems, Semba, the old Alderaanian woman that you're here escorting, looks up from where she's been sort of crouched nearby saying her prayers with frightened eyes staring out of her wrinkled old face, and she instinctively grabs hold of your arm. You can feel her hand shaking. She says, oh, Imperials, maybe they've come back to finish us off. And she clutches at your arm, obviously terrified.
Madam, if they finish us off, they finish us off. If they don't, they don't. I'll take her, and I pick her up bodily and run through the corridors and put her down on her rest bunk and give her a sedative.
Okay, not a problem. You run through to the sort of communal quarters that have been set up for them. You lay her down on her bunk, so time for your pills, and she protests briefly, but you administer a sedative to her, and after a while she sort of starts, oh, and she lapses into a fitful sleep, still sort of tossing and turning a bit, going, but she is now in her bunk. As this announcement has rung out through the ship, what is Austin's response to it?
Well, at the initial laser blast that went past, just kind of suddenly, his blaster was in his hand, just completely useless in this situation. But it was like just a reaction, you know. He'll kind of look around and just, you know, call out, you know, you guys need a gunner for this freight, and just, you know.
Okay. You can see a lot of the other sort of Alderaanians are now sort of standing up. They're looking around. Some of them shocked. Some of them looking fearful. You press the comms and shout, Sekas and Faldor. You hear a voice of one of the Alderaanians who's on board, a particularly dapper-looking gentleman, say, "Hey, do you need a gunner for this?"
And at that, I almost like, it stops me in my tracks for a minute, thinking of the absurdity of the question, and knowing that, you know, we have maybe one quad laser, you know, turret against presumably a Star Destroyer, and I jam my hand back on the comm, and I'm like, no, we don't need a gunner. We can't take on a Star Destroyer. We must go into the asteroid field. I imagine Faldor could use a co-pilot. And I start kind of trying to, and then I say, you know, have they hailed us? Have we gotten any messages?
Okay. As he says that, a large shape moves between the sun of the system and your own ship. Anyone who is near to the porthole sees a large wedge-shaped vessel, not the slightly smaller than the normal Imperial Star Destroyer, but still a huge vessel nonetheless. And Faldor, you can indeed see that from a small light winking on the central control panel that they are attempting to hail you.
I guess I'm gonna try to avoid in the asteroid field.
Okay, you're just taking straight off into the asteroid field, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, no problems. You start moving into the asteroid field. A few moments later, it's very, very dense. Moving at speed would be quite difficult through the asteroid field. Obviously not as difficult for you as it would be for that huge vessel outside, but still quite difficult nonetheless. I mean, there's an entire planet's worth of debris packed into this fairly small area of space. Are you moving in slowly into the asteroid field, or are you just sort of pushing the throttle forward and straight in?
At first, I'm gonna try to go slowly to see if he get back out, or if he continues to the pursuit. I'm gonna try to accelerate a little bit more.
Okay, the large ship stops near your previous position as you start moving into the asteroid field. Then on your sensors, you pick up a number of smaller craft, approximately a dozen or so, leaving the large ship and moving at speed towards you. You would guess from the size that there's some form of fighter craft.
Guys, we have company, smaller company.
All right, and I yell, you get us into the asteroid field. And we have TIE fighters coming in. All right, Barrick, get into the turret. See if we can hold these off. One of us needs to see if we can punch up the hyperdrive and jump out of here. I won't be taken by Imperials, not again. And I sit back and I'm gonna try to boost the rear deflector shields if as soon as they get in, if there's any kind of sign of them shooting, I'm gonna boost the shields.
Okay, that's not a problem. You angle the shields towards the rear of the vessel. You now have 2 shield points on the back and 0 on the front as you angle them round to protect the vulnerable back part of your ship. And you start slowly maneuvering around these asteroids as you head into the field. These TIE fighters that are pursuing you seem to be moving at top speed. They don't appear to be slowing down at all, perhaps relying on their smaller size or the skill of their pilots to weave around the asteroids. Whilst this is going on, what's Austin up to?
Well, I kind of looked out of the port window, saw the size of the vessel in question initially, and just kind of went, holy cow. And then I've made my way to the cockpit and just want to, you know, whoever's in there trying to pilot the ship say, what the hell have you guys done to anger the Imperials?
Okay, you head into the cockpit, Austin. There's an R2 unit in there which is plugged into the central controls. Now, Sekis, you can be in the cockpit as well if you wish. That's entirely up to you. So you should have had time to make your way there if you wished.
Yeah, if there's enough room in the cockpit, I will.
Yeah, okay. So when you walk in, there is the Quarren, who you would know to be the captain of the ship, Sekis Proco, and this R2 droid, this black and silver R2 droid, plugged into the main control. The two of you at the controls, the door opens and this figure walks in. If you want to describe what your character looks like, Austin, just to give the guys an idea of what your character looks like.
Yeah, he's kind of tall, dapper looking. He's wearing like a trench coat, along with like just some kind of armored clothing. He's got like this kind of cigarette just protruding from the corner of his mouth. It's not actually lit, but it's just hanging there. And he looks kind of alarmed that, you know, there's like an Imperial destroyer just suddenly started shooting at us, but not too nervous. You know, he's still got his like a cool air about him. But yeah, he wants to know like what the hell's happened and why is this ship suddenly attracted this attention.
Okay, so the door slides open to the cockpit. This dapper figure wearing a trench coat walks in and says, "What the hell's going on? What have you got us into? What trouble have you got with the Imperials?"
I just
And at that, I kind of look over at Faldor, and for a minute, I can't help but stifle a little bit of a chuckle. And then I look over to Flash, kind of awkwardly, almost like eyes down, not able to meet his gaze. And I say, well, I don't know what trouble I have with the Imperials. I can't imagine a little droid would have very many, but listen, this is Alderaan. Anybody out here is going to be, questioned. I mean, we got to get out of here. We got to jump out of here. I don't know what these Alderaanians want here or what, but we got to find somewhere safe. You any good with computers, with astrogation?
Oh, I know my way around a starship reasonably well. I wouldn't say I'm the best pilot in the galaxy, but yeah. What the hell is that? A TIE fighter?
As you're saying that, you indeed see, sort of as you're looking out of the porthole, this small shape of a TIE fighter rapidly closing in on your position, and a number of others behind it, moving in a sort of formation as they head towards your position. They've had to slow down a little bit since they're having to sort of jink left and right to avoid these large, slow-moving asteroids. As I say, it's quite densely packed here. As you're sort of looking around and you're saying this, Austin, you can see there's a red light flashing on the main console.
Austin will point at it and just say, "Is that normal?"
You can see, Sekas, that it's basically the comms light to tell you you've got an incoming message.
Yeah, and I say, yeah, it's normal. But I don't need to hear anything the Imperials have to say. It's not going to be anything I want. Listen, you go get over on the nav computer, start booting that up. We just need to make a short jump. I'll get over on the scanners, see if we can, find a place to hide to get out of these, to evade these TIE fighters. And I look at Faldor and I say, Faldor, man, you got a pilot like your life depended on it. Get us out of here. Punch it.
Okay, Austin will say, look, I'll get on the nav computer, but jumping into hyperspace ain't like dusting crops. I'll do my best, but let's see what we can do.
Okay, can you please make me an astrogation roll, Austin? It's only difficulty 2. So 2 purple dice.
Advantage.
Okay, as you're looking at the nav computer, you can see that due to how densely packed the asteroids are, trying to hyperspace jump whilst you're in this asteroid field is just a license for disaster. You're going to end up hyperspacing into an asteroid almost without doubt.
Look, I'm not being funny, but there ain't no chance of a hyperspace jump from this position. We need to get out this asteroid belt. Has this heap got guns? We need to buy some time.
Got some guns, and I put my hand on the comm, the internal comm, and I'm like, Barrick, you in the turret?
I'm just arriving, Captain. They look like Mark III AC type fighters from the Kessel dockyard, he says, looking out at them.
Indeed they do. Very well spotted. And you start activating the gun controls, and you hear the as the lasers on the turret lift up slightly, and you test out the controls. Since they are turret mounted, you can effectively fire all around you. Now, as you're heading into the asteroid field, Faldor, since you're in the piloting seat, are you going in there hell for leather, or are you taking a bit more of a cautious approach? Obviously, the quicker you move, the more likely you are to get away from these TIE fighters. However, the more difficult it'll be to avoid the asteroids.
I'm gonna try to pilot some way to make it easier to Barrick shoot the TIE fighters. Like, okay, guy, I'm gonna try to help you, and then I move the ship to easy aiming for him.
Okay, not a problem. In which case, can you please make me a pilot space roll? The difficulty is 1 purple and 2 red.
John, would it be possible for me to use the scanners in any way to try to assist and make the piloting role a little bit easier?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. In which case, Faldor, you can add a blue bonus dice into your pool as well to represent the assistance you're getting off Seckers shouting coordinates as he's looking at the scanners.
And do you need me to roll anything for that or no?
No, that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a failure, but you do get a lot of advantages. So effectively what I'm going to say is your ship scrapes along the underside of a large asteroid as you take a turn a bit too quickly. There's a grinding of metal as the small sort of sensor dish on top of your ship gets snapped off as the top of your ship scrapes the underside of this asteroid. There's a bit of screaming and shouting from the cargo bay, as obviously people have heard this grinding of metal and are like, oh, oh, oh.
Don't worry, guys, that was important.
For some reason, the beeping and warbling of an R2 unit on the comm system doesn't seem to settle the Alderaanians down much, and you can hear a sort of general signs of distress and hubbub coming from the cargo bay. However, since you got such a vast amount of advantages, what I'm going to say is, Beric Nor, with your first shooting roll, which will come off your gunnery skill, since it's a ship's weapon, you will get 2 blue bonus dice. The difficulty is 3, so 3 purple.
Could you repeat? Gunnery. Gunnery, you said.
Yeah, it's gunnery, then you get 2 blue bonus dice, and the difficulty is 3 purple dice.
Two bonus, is that the blue? 2 blue bonus, did you say?
That's correct, yeah.
So, the result is success, advantage, success.
Yeah, that's
can
fine.
you see these results?
Yeah, I've brought up your screen. Actually, you've got 2 advantages and 3 successes. So, would you care to narrate how, with expert marksmanship, you managed to dispatch one of the pursuing TIE fighters?
Laughing happily at these incoming TIE fighters. He says, they are using the standard Imperial Vulcan approach, and so easy to predict. And there's a and one explodes, and he punches the air and says, 1 down, 2 to go.
And in typical Star Wars fashion, I yelled, "Don't get cocky, kid. We still got 2 out there, plus that Star Destroyer. But good shot."
Thank you, Tentacles.
There's a brief sort of flare of yellow and red just off to the starboard side of your vessel as one of these TIE fighters explodes, the oxygen escaping, causing this explosion to flare briefly and then disappear in the vacuum of space. You can see a small cloud of these TIE fighters, probably about 11 or so now, closing in on you. As Beric rightly said, there's only one of them sort of within range. However, it is going to fire back at you. Now, at this point in time, I'd like to check who's going to keep track of the wounds for the ship. I'd like to suggest that you might want to do that, Sam, since you're the owner of the ship.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. Right, so I will make my roll. I'm going to spend a dark side point to upgrade one of my dice.
And are we going to get to roll some kind of maneuver to avoid the hit as well?
You don't get to roll a defense roll as such, no, when you're being attacked. Okay, with my roll, however, it's not only a failure, there is actually a serious disadvantage being caused here. So, Faldor, would you like to narrate how your excellent piloting skill enables you to avoid this barrage of fire that the TIE fighters unleash, the laser bolts flashing out, smashing into several asteroids, sending debris pluming off into space?
Okay, I go like the screw maneuver, going around, spinning, and in fact, the shot that was meant to us destroyed one of the asteroids that was in front of us, making the passage clear for a little bit, but clear.
Okay, splendid, no problems there. Okay, so we come back to manoeuvring again. So, Faldor, if you want to make me another piloting roll, again, it's 1 purple, 2 red. Okay, now you've got 2 advantages. That means you've not managed to pull ahead of them since you didn't get any successes. But with those advantages, you could effectively give a blue bonus dice to one of your companions. Perhaps you've got in an advantageous position for Beric to fire at them again, or if you can think of a way that you want to give the bonus dice to somebody else, you could do that.
I'm gonna give the advantage to Beric again. Imagine that I still trying to keep the strategy to kill the TIE fighters close to us before escaping.
Okay, no problem. So what I'll say is, as you're doing your sort of screw maneuver spinning round, you've actually turned the ship upside down, which Beric gives your turret a beautiful view of this cloud of TIE fighters sort of towards your ship. While that's going on, though, before we have you make that roll, Austin, as you're sort of stood in the cockpit watching all this going on, occasionally having to reach out to steady yourself as the ship's spinning round in this dizzying display of acrobatics, the door's still open behind you since you're effectively like stood in the doorway, so it's not automatically closed. You used to risk a glance down the corridor because you occasionally hear the sounds of distress from the Alderaanians. Also, you have a certain amount of empathy for them being an Alderaanian yourself. And as you happen to glance back down the corridor, you see a familiar looking hooded figure, the Kubaz at Darspa Algedi, who arranged the Alderaanians to have passage on this ship. He moves out of the cargo bay into the main corridor of the ship, so looks around him a bit furtively, and then he quickly starts shuffling towards the back of the ship.
Okay, do you want me to make some sort of perception roll to see if I realise that he's looking a bit shady, that he's not, you know, exactly just doing the typical passenger thing of, oh my god, what's going on? Can I check to see?
If you want to make a perception roll, you can do that.
Alrighty.
Difficulty
Again, standard?
2. Yeah, standard difficulty 2.
Oh, okay. 2 successes and a threat.
Okay, so with your successes, you do indeed notice that he's looking quite shifty. He has a furtive glance around as he steps into the main corridor. However, with your threat, he notices that you've obviously seen him, and sort of pulling his hood up over his head, he turns around and he almost starts running towards the back of the ship. Now, you've been on board for quite some time, Austin, obviously in this journey to the Alderaan system. You would know that at the back of this type of vessel, there are 2 escape pods.
Okay, I'm just gonna, like, without running towards him, I'm gonna hastily follow him and see if he's indeed making his way to an escape pod, because I just don't, his demeanor's, it's not ringing true. He's up to something and I'm aware of that. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of like hastily follow him, but without kind of obviously running after him.
Okay, no problems. As he does indeed appear to be running towards the escape pods, and in fact, as he's running, due to the successes you got on your previous roll, you can see he's holding a small metallic device in his hand that he looks at. And you see him sort of shake this device, and then he carries on running.
Okay, at which point I'm gonna draw my pistol and just yell at him, "Stop! Don't move!"
Okay, he is going to make an attempt to dive into the escape pod before you have a chance to shoot at him. So this will basically come down to which of you is the speedier. So it's going to be an athletics roll. From yourself, Austin, the difficulty is only 2.
Success and 2 threat.
Okay, not a problem. You are successful, so you've got time to take a shot before, as he's sort of pulling the entrance open to the escape pod. You've got time to act before he can get in it. What do you do?
I will indeed take a shot at him. I told him to stop, and he isn't. Against 2 again.
Yeah, that's correct. Let me know what you roll.
Success and an advantage.
Okay, not a problem. You have indeed hit him. Whereabouts were you aiming for him? Were you going for a kill shot, just to disable?
I'll be aiming for his leg. Just, again, I didn't want to kill him. I just told him to stop, so I want to incapacitate him.
Okay, not a problem. You hit him in his leg and he slumps down by the side of the escape pod, the small metallic device flying out of his hand and landing on the floor between the two of you. And you hear him go, "Ah!" as he falls to the ground, clutching his leg in his gloved hands.
Okay, as I'm like, okay, I've got my blaster in both hands now, taking aim, and just walking towards him, say, hurts, don't it? I told you not to move. And I'll kind of glance over at the device, and I'll just say, what is that?
He goes, oh, that it is. It's nothing, just a small hand scanner unit, nothing of any importance. There's no need for further violence.
Are you lying? I can always tell when someone's lying.
No, I just wanted to get out of it. I mean, have you seen the size of that thing out there? I'm not staying here to be killed by the Imperials.
Yeah, well, seeing as you broke a passage for everyone on here, I think you trying to escape now, that's a little bit cowardly. I think you should stick around with all of us and, you know, reap what you sow.
It's difficult to tell what emotions are on his face because these goggles cover his face. He has this long trunk. But as he sort of slumped to one side, he goes, I'd rather be an alive coward than a dead hero.
You ain't going to be dead, son. Flash is here. Just relax. Everything will be fine. We'll get that leg patched up. But in the meantime, you're coming back to the cargo bay.
You notice,
and I'll kind of...
He's been trying to sort of scoot his way over to where this small scanner's still lying on the floor.
Okay, I'm going to take a warning shot between him and the device and just say, don't do it.
It hits the ground between him and the device, and he goes, "Ah!" and scoots backwards a little bit. There's a small scorch mark in the floor of the corridor.
Okay, I'd like to kind of like circle towards the device, keeping a nice bit of distance between me and him, but kind of, yeah, you know, always got my gun trained on him. Want to get near the device, want to kind of bend down and pick it up. Place, okay. You know, just have a look.
Yep, not a problem. You keep him covered with your gun. He's got an injured leg. He's in no position to make any form of surprise attack. As you pick up this small device, it does indeed appear to be a scanner, but just from looking at it, you can tell it's got a far greater range on it than like a normal sort of hand scanner or a medical scanner. And it appears to be registering a signal of some sort from one of the asteroids a few miles deeper into the asteroid field.
Ah, just a scanner, huh? Okay, coward. Let's get back here. You've got some questions to answer if we get out of this pickle.
He looks at you and he's like, oh, but my leg, I can't walk on it. You've shot me.
Well, how about I shoot the other one and drag you back there?
He's like, oh, no. And he sort of slowly and painfully like, starts climbing to his feet, sort of leaning over to one side, favouring his good leg. Meanwhile,
okay.
I'm going to jump back to Beric Nor in the turret of the ship. There's still 11 TIE fighters closing in on you. Well, you notice a couple of them seem to have like disappeared from the back of the group. Perhaps they're trying to circle around you or take a different way through the asteroid field. You're not sure.
It doesn't matter to Beric, no. He's in the fight, and the testosterone is pumping through his veins. His veins are sticking out on his muscular neck, and he's just loving it. He punches the air and says, as he's upside down, sort of screaming and holding on to the gunnery turret, he says, "Pit of Scarlac, Faldor, you're moving this Naboo-built Wumpa-bus like some Malkurian Hafa. A little closer, he says, as the image of the TIE fighter stutters in the twin sighting squares of his gunnery. A little closer, and he lets off his shot at the next TIE.
Okay, so it's another gunnery roll. You get a blue bonus dice because of Faldor's positioning.
And it's 3 difficulty, did you say again?
That's correct.
Okay. So, can you see the results?
I can indeed. Okay.
Double advantage,
And
triple
a failure.
advantage, quadruple advantage, and a failure, and a threat.
Okay. You lay down a sort of blast of suppressive fire, but the skill of these TIE fighter pilots, these highly trained Imperials, they seem to have tumbled to the fact that you've obviously got some passing familiarity with standard Imperial attack methods, and they break out, dispersing themselves into a much more widely spread crowd, each of them becoming an individual, ducking around these asteroids with amazing skill and precision. And unfortunately, you're unable to get a bead on one of them. However, as a group, they do return fire on you.
You sneaky huts!
Okay. Let me just check the damage of their weapon. Okay, your ship, Sekas, has just taken 6 wounds as a salvo of laser blasts smash into the outside of the hull of the Midnight Runner Mark II.
All right, and is that after shields and armor and all that?
No, that's just the basic one.
That's
so
just the base. Okay.
Yeah, so deduct your armor, and that's the amount that goes through.
Okay, and you said we had 2 shield points, right?
Yeah, I've already taken them into account.
You have. Okay, gotcha. So then we take 1. All right. Thank you.
No problems. Luckily, as this, what would have almost certainly been a devastating salvo of fire, rips into the back of the ship, luckily because you've angled all of your shield power to the rear of your vessel, and it's quite heavily armoured for a vessel of this size. Only a few small pieces of metal and non-important components are sheared off by this red laser fire that you hear sort of like pounding into the outside of the hull. Now, Austin, you're sort of dragging this Kubaz through the ship. Whereabouts are you taking him to?
Initially, just taking him back to the cargo hold, but on hindsight, I think I might drag him towards the cockpit where a couple of others are, and where I can keep it pretty much the opposite end of the escape pods. Now I'll take him back to the cockpit.
No problems. The Sekas and Faldor, the door to the cockpit opens again, and you once more see this dapper figure of Austin Earhart there. Only this time, sort of in one hand with a gun in the other, he's holding this slightly bedraggled form of Darspa Algedi, the Kubaz who originally booked passage for the Alderaanians with you. You can see there's what passes for Kubaz blood leaking out of one of this alien's leg, and he's being like held up by the corner of his cloak. And you can see that Austin has a blaster trained on him.
And I look up at Austin at Flash, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And it almost sort of half distracted as like the scanner array starts beeping as I see these 11 more dots like show up on the thing, and I start to get really nervous.
Well, it seems that our friend Gaspar here, he was making for the escape hatches, and he told me he had a short-range scanner, but that seems to be a complete lie. He knows something's waiting for us further in the asteroid field.
At which point, Darspar sort of throws his hands up and he goes, I didn't say it was a short-range scanner. I said it was a hand scanner. It fits in your hand, doesn't it?
Potato, potato. I don't like being lied to.
As you say that, you notice the Kubaz sort of wince and sort of try and like edge away from Austin a little bit. His eyes, as far as you can see, sort of fixed on this blaster that Austin's holding.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll just say.
I was gonna say as soon as the word scanner, like as soon as I heard the word hand scanner, I sort of am like aloof to the threat that is possibly posed here, and very interested in this scanner. And I kind of look to Flash, and I'm like, and to this creature, and I'm like, where is the scanner? Let me see it.
Okay, Flash will kind of turn to look at Darspa and say, "Why don't you take a seat?" And I'll kind of kick him behind the knee in his good leg so he crumples to the floor.
He's like, and he crumples to the floor.
I'll take out the hand scanner and just toss it to Sekas. Here, look for yourself.
Okay, he throws it across to you, and looking at it, it's obvious that it's not a personal short-range scanner. It's got far larger range. You can see from the little sort of display on it. It appears to be registering some kind of signal from one of the larger asteroids, sort of a few miles further into the field. You can just see like a boom, boom, little sort of red point of light flashing on and off on the display.
All right. And as he throws it to me, and as I catch it, and I'm noticing this, I kind of half look to Flash and half, still half looking at the scanner, completely ignoring the ship scanner and all the danger going on around us. And I sort of half-heartedly say, and you might want to put that blaster away. Let's not get anybody killed. And as I'm looking at the scanner, I'm trying to ascertain, is this signal, giving can I tell, is this Imperial, is this a rebel, is this some kind of just, corporate scanner? If I need to make some kind of like computers check or anything, I could do that.
Yep. Make me a computers roll, standard difficulty of 2.
Okay. Alrighty.
At which point, when Flash was told to put his blaster away, he'll kind of just spin it round in his hand real quick and holster it in one fluid motion. And he'll look at Darspa and say, "Don't worry, it can reappear just as quick as it disappeared."
He sort of shrinks back and he's like, "Ah!" As you're sort of tinkering with the scanner, Sekas, you can see that it appears to have been set to pick up a particularly rare type of radiation, specifically.
Okay, a particularly rare type of radiation. All right, and I kind of let that register for a minute, and I say, I got a bad feeling about this. Dun. Sorry. And then, what would I be able to sort of ascertain? Is this something that would be given off by maybe a, I don't know, like a ship's hull that's no longer, have core containment, something like that, or is this something maybe black market related?
Okay, you can tell it's not a form of radiation that's common in any sort of device that you're aware of.
All right, so I let everybody know this thing is tracking some kind of radiation here in the asteroid field. Now, we got a couple of options here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm half tempted to get closer to that radiation. It may scramble the scanners, and the TIE fighters may have a harder time, and it might just give us the time we need to pop up out of the asteroid field and make that astrogation, and see if we can get ourselves out of here. What do you think?
Let's go. I doubt we can fight the TIE fighters the way we are right now.
Okay, as Sekas mentions, you might be getting closer to the source of the radiation. The Kubas sort of sits up a little bit, and he's like, "Yes, that is a good idea."
And at this point, I become well aware that what he's doing, that this creature's here, and I said, And I actually kind of put the scanner, kind of in my utility belt, whatever, and I draw my my blade actually, and it's just a standard combat knife, and you can see, these like piercing blue eyes under this sort of palish, almost orange skin, and the tentacles are just starting to ripple as I'm getting angry, and I walk over to him, brandishing the knife, and I say, "Listen, you have a scanner towards some mysterious radiation on board our ship, and the Imperials just happen to show up when we've been here just fine. What is this? Who are you? And what are you doing here?" And I hold the knife like up to his throat.
Okay, no problems. Can you make me a coercion roll? The difficulty is 2, and I will give you a blue bonus dice, both because he's already a bit beaten up and you're holding a knife to him.
Yes, I can do that. You said difficulty 2 and 1 blue boost?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, you press the knife to his neck, and he's like, "Oh, okay. I'll tell you why I really came here." And at that point, that would seem an apt moment for us to do our tide change. So what I'm going to ask each of you to do is to come up with a thing that he might be looking for on this large asteroid. So I will start with Faldor. What do you think this Kubaz might be looking for in this asteroid field? It's clear he didn't just come here to bring some pilgrims.
Some rare kind of minerals that can be used to construct or to be some kind of fuel combusted. I swear I can English. Some kind of fuel to a weapon.
Okay, so some sort of rare mineral that can be used as a weapon fuel.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Not a problem. Okay, Sekas, how about yourself?
So, actually, kind of thinking that there is possibly a mysterious object that he doesn't know what it would be, but that somebody high up in the Imperial Order desperately is seeking, desperately wants. Rumors are that it could even be, Vader or one of the Moffs or somebody, high in power wants something in this asteroid field, and supposedly this scanner will show the location to it.
Okay, no problems whatsoever. Okay, Beric, what do you think the Kubaz Darspa Algedi is looking for?
Am I silent? No.
No, that's fine.
Fossilized eggs, eggs of some giant lizard that have been frozen in, is it carbonite or?
Okay.
Or some giant creature, but eggs frozen in carbonite.
Okay, no problem. And last but not least, Austin, what do you think Darspa Algedi is here for?
I think parked on one of the larger asteroids is another vessel with some of his friends, and his whole reason for bringing us here is because he wants to commandeer this ship for some reason. Maybe it's a member who's on there, or they're just like space pirates and just want to like sell it for booty. But either way, there's people waiting for us further into the asteroid field.
Okay, no problems. In which case, what I will do is we will take a short 10-15 minute break now. I will post this on the Tides of Change. We'll reconvene again at past, and then we will carry on with whichever of the tide changes has the most votes. So I'll see you all in a short while, guys.
Sounds good.
Okay. Right. And the first one back.
If you're there, Cronus, you said it right. Fuel.
Thanks.
I'm enjoying this. How do you know how you vote on this Tides of Change?
Yeah, if you just go to the Tides of Change Facebook group, you should see it there as a poll, and you can just select
On the
which of the options you
front
want to vote
page? On Create Poll, or will it be there anyway?
for. It'll be there. It'll be there. It should say that I've created a poll.
Let me just see. It says you've created a poll, but I've got loads of notes. Ah, yes, here we are.
I was so tempted to say Sith Holocron, but I was like, wait, we're not playing Force and Destiny.
That's alright, man. I could have rolled with that.
Oh yeah.
Let me just refresh that. It currently looks like Beric's suggestion is winning.
Nice.
Actually, I like.
How are you guys
Yeah.
finding the game so far while we're having a sort of intermission?
I'm
Good.
loving it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. I actually like being able to see the dice mechanic in action,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and sort of how it works, and just thinking of, all right, so like, you know, failure but with advantage, or, you know, success with threat. It's like really interesting possibilities, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to the other guys just before you came on, Sam, it's one of those dice mechanics that's far easier to see in action than it is to understand when you're just sort of reading it in the book. I know I
Yeah.
certainly didn't really understand it until I'd played in a couple of one-shots.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know Sam likes Fate system. I don't know, but this one is very similar to that, but better, in my opinion. Because you have the advantage and disadvantage.
Wow, saying better than Fate in front of Red Dice Diaries.
Ooh.
I know it's
Let me get hanky to like wipe my brow with.
Yeah. He's like, wait, what?
My bet is on the droid dying in this adventure now.
No, he's an R2 unit. Talk
R2s
about
don't
the
die.
greatest plot armor ever. Dude's made it through
And
7
fun fact,
movies. No.
I made this one to be the Koflot, and he's piloted the ship. I go, what the hell, man?
I know. Well, and it was funny. I realized that. That's why I took a couple of ranks in space pilot, because I was like, yep, we're gonna have our droid kind of flying the ship. But I actually love that. I think that like, considering we have a big frickin' turtle as a ship,
Yep.
it's so fitting that the droid would fly it, you know.
No,
But I mean,
agree.
it's an astro, you know, droid. It makes sense, sort of.
Because I'm slow.
No,
Well,
man.
the
'cause
thing
you're-
is as well, since Sekas and Faldo have obviously been associated with each other for a little bit of time, given that you helped him steal the ship, he's presumably become aware of the fact that you've obviously somehow avoided too frequent memory wipes because you've got a personality. So that therefore he might be slightly more willing to sort of turn things over to you. You're not just a standard sort of factory model.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that he tends to get on with machines and be more interested in mechanical devices than people, and presumes that you are not in league with the Hutts or the Empire. Yeah, you know, he's cool. Barrack Noor, on the other hand, that guy, I don't know. John, how do you find actually GMing a game?
I find I very much like the core mechanic of the Fantasy Flight system. I think there's a lot of sort of other stuff that they've sort of like piled on the top, like very specifics, like if you're using the specific sort of chase system that's in there, it's a little bit complicated. As soon as you start introducing others obstacles you've got to avoid as well, and we've got to move range sort of levels and stuff like that, it gets very complicated. Whereas I think a lot of stuff can be done if you just sort of take it back to the core mechanic, which I think is very good, and once you know the dice, it's fairly streamlined.
Yeah.
It's a lot better just to use that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I was looking through some of the stuff, you know, when it like came to space combat and you know, the maneuvers and and I'm like, man, and my brain immediately goes to Fate, and I'm like, all right, you know, how would I do this in Fate? And then I'm like, oh my god, if you do this in Fate, but with this dice mechanic, like you kind of combine those two. Oh wow, so that's kind of neat.
Well, I'll try and keep most things down to either making a sort of skill test or giving like bonus dice to other people who are going to make skill tests. So Faldor's sort of fancy manoeuvring is, oh, you've got those advantages. Okay, you might not have got a success, so you haven't gained any ground on them. You've not managed to evade them, but you can pass those advantages on to someone else because, like we said earlier on, you've got into an advantageous position so that Derek can get more of a lock on the TIE fighters that are coming in.
Yeah,
so I think you can do an awful lot with that system before you have to start like bolting like subsystems onto it.
Yeah, I like it.
So Beric can get a closer miss, you mean?
Well, to be fair, you are sort of in a ship that's currently going in a corkscrew motion whilst avoiding asteroids and trying to get a lock on very fast-moving, very small TIE fighters. So you're doing pretty well, to be honest.
And it's a turtle against TIE fighters. I think they've got the advantage on manoeuvrability.
Yeah.
That's it, exactly. Right, since we've got us all back, I'll have one last look to check on the voting, and then we will press on.
So far, I believe it's a mysterious object desired by the Empire in the lead.
Indeed.
My girlfriend just texted me, how is the game? I said, oh man, it's awesome. It's good to play with the pros.
Oh,
Very kind of you to say.
Alan, how do you not know who Gerard Butler is? I mean, like, we're playing with Gerard Butler. It's freaking me out, and it's awesome.
I don't know. I've never heard of him. What's he famous for? I might know
he's
his
a movie
face.
star. Yeah, he's a movie star. God, and of course I'm terrible with the titles of movies, but
I'm gonna have a quick look now. Hang on.
yeah.
Let's see.
300.
I don't know.
The
300.
sequel.
Yes, there you
The
go.
sequel.
Oh, okay.
Well, he was in. Wasn't he in the original too?
Was he in the original?
Yeah, wasn't he the main guy?
Is he Leonidas?
Yeah.
Leonidas, yeah.
However you
Yeah.
Americans call him.
This is madness. All right, cool. Oh, yeah. Thank you for the compliment. I'm digging that.
Hey, it's,
It's also
you
in
know,
How to Train Your Dragon, so don't get too chuffed.
Okay, so is everyone ready to jump back in and carry on then?
yes.
Roger that.
Okay, no problems. As you've got this Kubas held there, and he's sort of looking quite nervous. He says, "Oh, okay, fine. Look, I don't know exactly what it's built to detect. I just know the Empire wants it, and they're willing to pay for it."
And
Engineers will pick up and he'll just say, "Hey, you say? Ah, now you're talking."
and Sekis just starts to shake his head, and not like in a disagreement, but like, oh my God, what is going to happen here? And you start to realize that there's some history with him in the Empire. He's very nervous about this situation, more so than he might otherwise be. And he says, "And how did you come across this information?"
It's my business. I'm a seller of information. It's what I do. My contacts told me that the Empire had been scanning the graveyard for this radiation signature, and well, I didn't have a ship myself, and as luck would have it, a Bothan contact of mine told me that he was trying to find someone to book passage to some Alderaanians who were heading here anyway. So and he looks a bit nervous. You can see a couple of like beads of pallid sweat have broke out on his trunk as he carries on speaking, and he's like, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised to find you on board. I was expecting to be booking passage with my old associate Suvo, but
Says, yes, well, let us hope you don't come in contact with Subo again. He's not going to be in a good mood. But listen, let me give you some advice about dealing with the Empire. They don't pay you. They take what they want. All right? So listen, you're going to get your chance, though, to see it, because we're heading towards that thing. We're going to find out what this is. And
look, I'm not greedy. If you will help me recover whatever it is, I'm perfectly willing to. And he sort of glances fearfully over at Austin. I'm perfectly willing to cut you all in on a piece of the action. Just help me retrieve whatever it is and get us the hell out of here safely. And we don't have to sell it to the Empire. You can bet whatever it is. If the Empire is willing to pay for it, there'll be other people willing to pay for it. Maybe the rebels or the Huts. They've got money to burn. They'll buy anything.
We're not selling it to the Empire, says Beric. As Tentacle says, the Empire has a history of renegotiating on deals, and I do not deal with renegotiators.
Your voice comes through the intercom, causing him to start as it sounds right next to his head. And he's like, okay, then, we, as I said, we don't have to sell to the Empire. I'm sure the Huts would buy it. They're always looking to get an edge. What with the Empire putting the squeeze on everybody and constricting their territories.
And very, very slowly, dangerously under my breath, I say, no. We won't be dealing with the Huts. We won't be dealing with the Empire. We're going to find out what this is, we're going to get it, and we're going to get the hell out of here.
I've told you all I know. All I know is it was apparently something the Alderaanians were working on before the destruction of their planet. Frankly, I didn't think anything would have survived what happened here, but, the scanner doesn't lie.
And at that point, I will attempt to sort of bash his head up against the, kind of the door frame there, just to knock him unconscious.
That's not a problem. I won't make you make a roll for that. His head off the door frame, and he slides down the door and lies still.
All right, and then I would pull a pair of binders out of my utility belt and just kind of like bind his hands. And I look over to Flash, and I'm like, why don't you take this fool back into the cargo hold and let those Alderaanians back there know that if anybody else tries to sabotage this mission, they're going to get a fate worse than that. And you can tell that Sekis is on edge. Like, he is really starting to, to get edgy here and nervous. And the last thing that he wants to do is head towards this radiation signature, something that the Empire is actively looking for, with TIE fighters circling all around. But he looks to his friend the droid and he says, all right, my friend, we got to get in here. We got to figure this out. Got to get in quick and get in and get out. You think you're up for it? And
okay. And speaking of getting in there, Faldor, can you make me another piloting roll? It's difficulty of 1 purple and 2 red still.
Pilot space.
Yep, that's correct.
R2, more incoming!
A triumph!
Okay, so you have got a threat on there, however you've also got a triumph. So would you care to narrate the spectacular feat of flying that enables you to lose the vast majority of these TIE fighters within the asteroid field?
Since there is a threat, I imagine I still corkscrew the ship and get away with the TIE fighters, because I start to get so dangerous that they don't risk for this piece of junk that is our ship. And unfortunately, I hit some asteroids in the meantime.
Okay, and that's what happens. Heading towards this radiation signature, you're forced to head into a particularly dense area of the asteroid field. Faldor, R2C4, pulls off some stunning feats of spatial aeronautics to weave this fairly ponderous ship that you're in through the narrowest of gaps between these slow-moving asteroids. It's a little strange as you head in. It's almost as though something had drawn a large sort of sphere of these asteroids into this place. The field itself gets a lot more dense here. As you're heading in, anyone glancing out of the portholes sees the TIE fighters hang back, obviously unwilling to pursue you into such a dangerous area. However, Sekaz, your ship does take another wound, as some of the smaller asteroids bounce off the hull with like a dung, 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 as Faldor is concentrating entirely on avoiding the larger asteroids and is unfortunately forced to plow through some of the smaller pieces of space debris.
And as that's happening, and we're kind of getting jostled, and I imagine, the turret stabilizers kind of, have to do their best to keep this thing from spinning. I look over, I'm kind of also trying to help co-pilot this thing, and I say, calm yourself down here, Faldor. Calm down. We got to make it out of here alive. And I got a spacesuit, but I don't know if the rest of you do. If we sustain too much hull damage and burst a hole in this ship, well, you'll be fine, but the rest of us, we're going to be in some serious trouble.
I hope these turtles have thick shells.
Fowler just made the acknowledge sound.
Okay, Barrick, as you're sort of weaving into this dense area of asteroids, you've got one last chance because the TIE fighters start falling back to take a shot at them if you so wish.
I'm gonna swat you, you screaming tin mosquito, he shouts as it moves and jutters closer towards the center of his aiming squares.
Okay, make your roll. It's the no blue bonus dice this time, but it's the same difficulty as previous.
Okay. So, one success and one advantage and 3 threats.
Okay, you managed to hit one of the TIE fighters, blowing off part of the stabilizing wing, not completely destroying it. You watch as this TIE fighter spins off and is quickly lost out of sight as you plunge into the debris field. You briefly see sparks flaring end over end as it spins around and disappears. As you hear laughter ringing through the comm system as you hear the of the turret turbo laser firing again, and then you plunge into this more dense area of the field, Faldor expertly piloting the ship through. In the center of this, like I say, sort of sphere of densely packed asteroids, you see a single very large asteroid, large enough to land your ship on. That's how big it is. It appears as though all of the other asteroids are sort of hanging in a sphere, almost as though they were orbiting this larger asteroid. You appear to be free of the TIE fighters' attention, for now at least, thanks to Faldor's fancy flying.
So I kind of assess the situation, and I type on the scanners, kind of realizing, okay, we can do this. Does the radiation seem like it would be at a level that it would be extremely dangerous for us to put down on this planet, or would it mess with our ship in any way? Can I tell?
Okay, do you have any sort of science knowledge? We'll default to education if not.
I do, yeah. In fact, I am trained in it with 1 rank.
Okay, it's a difficulty of 3 for the roll.
Okay. Education. And the fact that I didn't realize that intelligence was my main skill and have a 1 in it, or intellect, I should say. You said difficulty 3?
That's correct.
Eesh. There we go. Oh, not so good.
Okay, it's not a form of radiation you're familiar with, so it is a very small amount of radiation, but not knowing the specifics of it, it's difficult for you to tell. You don't think it would be harmful, but you're not 100% sure.
Well,
It's a very low
and
level.
and frankly, at this point, if it's something that the Empire wants, and I think I can take it and possibly get away with it, I'm going to do it. So I look to Faldor and I say, "All right, my friend, put her down. Let's see what we can find." And I look to Flash and I'm like, you might want to go back and tell the Alderaanians what's up, but try to calm them down. And listen, no more blaster fire if you can help it. All right."
I'll kind of just show you my index finger and just say, "Don't worry about blaster fire. This is my safety." And then make my way back to the cargo bay.
Okay, as you make your way back to the cargo bay, Austin, you can see that a lot of the Alderaanians, they've stopped screaming, they're not so much panicking. You can see a lot of them are clustered around one of the side portholes on the ship and appear to be sort of excitedly chatting amongst themselves, sort of like pointing out of the porthole.
Okay, I'll go back. My fellow Alderaanians, we've had to make a small detour from our pilgrimage due to the Imperial presence here, but don't worry, everything's under control. Say, what are you guys looking at?
A couple of gasps go up when you mention the Imperials, but then one of the Alderaanians who sort of stood next to the porthole, literally sort of like peering out of it, says, "What's that out there?" And he jabs his finger at the porthole.
Okay, I'll
I've never seen anything like it.
I'll gently just kind of like push them aside and make my way and have a look out the window myself. What can I see?
Okay, as you look out, you can see the sort of underside of this large asteroid that you're approaching. And as you watch, over the course of like a couple of minutes as you're approaching it, patches of the asteroid seem to be disappearing and reappearing at random.
Okay, due to my really low intelligence, I'm probably mystified by this anomaly as well. Wow, that's interesting. I'll be right back, guys. But as I said, everything's cool. Don't worry about a thing. It's under control. And I'll head back to the cockpit to explain this anomaly as best I can.
Okay, no problems. Whilst Austin's heading back to the cockpit, Beric, the TIE fighters the threat appears to have passed for the moment. Are you remaining in the cockpit? Sorry, not the cockpit, the gunnery pit.
Oh hell no! I go straight to the cockpit to milk in their adulation of my great gunnery skills. I'm telling them how I brought that one down and how I brought that one down.
Okay,
I do the whole testosterone match.
Okay, no problems. In which case, Austin, as you get to the cockpit, you're just in time to walk into the middle of Beric explaining a particularly devastating salvo of fire that with his martial prowess he unleashed on the Imperial dogs that had been set up on you.
And he high-fives you and almost sort of jumps chest to chest against you. He's just so full of testosterone.
And as you say that, I kind of look back and I say, "You have your moments, not many of them, but you have them."
Okay,
And
well,
powder.
And
Austin will just be like, "Yeah, good job, kid. Well done."
and it's largely thanks to the R2 unit. The chance of successfully negotiating an asteroid field is about as small as a Gungan's brain.
He starts to shake like R2 in the movies.
Okay, well, kind of, Austin will give a crooked smile and just say, "Look, I don't want to interrupt the love fest here, but there's something real strange about this asteroid. I've never seen anything like it. It seems parts of it seem to be there 1 minute, then they'll disappear and only to reappear again. I'm not too sure what the hell's going on here.
You're saying almost like a cloaking device, something like that?
I don't know. Have a look out the port window from the cargo bay. That's where you can get the best vantage point of it.
And I definitely will. I'm super intrigued, especially if it's something, electrical or mechanical or something like that.
Okay, not a problem. You head back into the cargo bay and sort of push through the excited Alderaanians and look out of the porthole. And as described previously, you can see this huge sort of asteroid that you're approaching. It's extremely large, okay, big enough to land a ship on. And as you watch over the course of the next couple of minutes, sort of small segments of the asteroid appear to sort of shimmer and then disappear. And then a few moments later, it reappears, and another bit shimmers and disappears, reappears, shimmers, reappears. And this continues to happen on various seemingly random points around the asteroid.
Okay. And does there seem to be, because I would definitely be looking for some sort of focal point or nexus or somewhere, maybe a structure or something built into this asteroid that looks like it might be the cause of all this weirdness.
Okay, make me a perception roll. Difficulty is 2.
Alrighty. Okay.
Okay. You have succeeded. So what you see is eventually you work out that it doesn't seem like pieces of it are actually disappearing. It seems like, as you speculated, they appear to be sort of becoming transparent or invisible in some manner. And as you watch, as a particularly large chunk of it disappears, you can see sort of most of them, when they disappear, they just sort of show more rock inside the asteroid. However, as one particularly large chunk becomes transparent, shimmers and disappears, you can see what appears to be the outside wall of some sort of metal structure deep within the asteroid. Then a few moments later, before you can really get a decent look at it, the rock reappears over it, and you're just looking at the side of an asteroid again.
Oh wow. Okay. And I would head at this point. I would head back to the cockpit, and as I'm kind of going through the cargo bay, seeing the Alderaanians kind of huddled there, sort of shivering and scared, and I just kind of I look on them with this sort of disdain, like, what are we even doing with these people? Like, and I just barely prevent myself from thinking, man, their planet deserved to be destroyed if these are the kind of people that live in the core and represented the Republic. And I head back to the cockpit and I alert my companions to what I saw. And I say to them, as much as I don't want to do this, I think we're gonna have to head out and find out what this is. What do you guys think? And you can tell that I'm uncomfortable giving orders, although that sort of was not evident earlier when I had no problem giving orders, but in the heat of battle it's different now. I'm trying to figure out a plan. So
Flash will just be like, you want us to go out there? Nah, I'm going to stay on the safety of the ship. But feel free.
So that's probably wise, actually. We do need someone to scan in case those TIE fighters come back and to alert us. And you do know how to fly, so that makes sense. And then he looks to Barrick, but he doesn't actually wait for his answer. He's still nervous, and he says, he looks over to Faldor, and he's like, Faldor, are you going to come, or are you going to stay on the ship as well?
Look, man, it's okay. I would like to go, but this ship was beating pretty heavy in this asteroid. I think I'm gonna check it out first, but you can go ahead and cheers.
And this sort of hesitant and kind of sad look comes over my face. I was hoping that my friend the droid would go with me, but now I'm in a bit of a situation because the last thing I want to do is go out by myself with the bounty hunter into danger. But I'm struggling with that because at the same time he's proven his valor, and I respect that.
At that moment, Barak, who's been checking a handheld device, turns around to Kubas, to Sekas, and laughs, saying, "Hey, tentacles! After that last maneuver, your bounty has gone up 20,000 credits."
And with that, I literally stagger back, kind of falling into the cockpit a little bit, falling with a ungraceful, like, back into the co-pilot's chair, and I'm like fumbling for my blaster.
Let's if we go down there and get something big, we might get it. We might be able to push it over 100,000. Let's go.
And literally at this point, I pull out my blaster and I'm like, "Listen, I'm not letting you take me. I'm not going back to the huts."
This look of complete sort of surprise, Stupa comes over Barak's face, and slowly it dawns on him that you're thinking that he's going to take you in, and he just starts laughing. "Oh no, I don't take my comrades in. Once you've fought with me, you are one of my brothers."
And again, I have this internal struggle, right? Because these humans have lied to me. They've enslaved me. They've caused all kinds of pain. They're the ones who run the empire, who have tried to kill my people, and yet, again, I respect the valor, I respect his words, and I respect what he's done, and he's fought the empire, and so I look into his eye, well, his one good eye anyway, and I would imagine I would see that genuine sort of look of surprise, like, wow, I'm not going to take in my friend. And so it's at that moment that I put the blaster down slowly.
Barak takes out his blaster and hands it over to Sekas and says, "I have no weapons. You are not my objective. I know we bounty hunters there are some who would take in their own grandmother, but I am not one of those. I take in people who need to be taken in. I take them down, and I have no reservations about that. But I choose my prey."
Whilst this conversation is going on, Faldor, you're obviously like clued into the ship's systems. You've been piloting, you've been monitoring what's going on. Can you please make me a perception roll, difficulty 2? Okay, splendid. As you're sort of scanning the asteroid, as a matter of course, since Sekas is talking about sort of going down there, you're also looking for a place to land. You're actually picking up a faint signal from somewhere inside the actual asteroid. It's very faint due to the rock between you and it. And you can't really make out what it's saying, but it appears to be a binary signal.
Guys, I found something. I'm gonna go for it, and I gonna start to head to this signal.
Yeah, and with that, I'll turn around and put my hands on the co-pilot on the stick and start working the scanners, make sure that we're kind of we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, no problems. You circle the asteroid a couple of times until you find a large enough sort of flat spot to set your ship down on, and with a of the landing thrusters, Faldor expertly lands it on the asteroid.
And as Sekas turns away and turns back to the control panels, Barak reaches out and takes his blaster again and puts it back in its holster.
Okay, whilst all this is going on, what's Austin doing?
Austin has just kind of got a calculating look on his face, and he's kind of like lost in thought, not doing anything particular, but just listening to what's going on, and just he's lost in thought. He's thinking about something.
As you're pondering, you hear from the side of you a psst, psst, and looking around, you can see that the Kubaz appears to have regained consciousness, and he's sort of gesturing with his head towards you.
I see our companion here is awake. I'm going to take him at it. I'm going to take him back to the cargo bay because I don't want him listening into what we're planning. Yeah, I don't trust him. And I'll kind of like just drag him towards, away from like the discussions that are going on. Back to the cargo bay.
No problems. As you're dragging Darspa Algedi away sort of down the central corridor of the ship, he goes, look, I have a friend who's waiting for a signal from me. If we get whatever's down there and I signal him, he can get us out of here. And well, if the profit split 3 ways goes a lot farther than splitting it between all of these people, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, a coward will say anything to try and weasel his way out of trouble. That's all I want to hear from you at the minute.
He says, look, yes, you're right, I'm a coward, but you look like a man who appreciates the finer things. If they've sent an Imperial Vindicator and TIE fighters after this thing, just think how much money it must be worth. And, well, as I say, if we just split it between you, me, and my friend, well, the money will go a lot further.
Okay, I'll just kind of like backhand him across the face, across that big snout of his, and look, I said that's the last I want to hear from you. If you know what's good for you, you'll shut up right about now.
He nods and doesn't say anything. Okay, the ship has been set down on this large asteroid. What are you guys planning to do?
So I would pop up out of the seat and look to Barak, and I would say, well, if you're still feeling up for it, I think we got to check this out, see what's going on, get out of here. And then before he gets to say anything, I look to Faldor and I said, listen, I need you to stay on the scanners and let us know the moment something shows up, all right?
And Faldor just...
Okay, excellent. So, Sekas and Barak, you're planning to get Enviro suited up and head out into the asteroid, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I actually look to Barak and I say, so, listen, that creature with this strange scanner, I don't trust him to stay on the ship, and, well, I say a fitting reward for him would be to take him with us. What do you think?
A smile breaks out on Barak's face. I haven't seen the creature, but I've heard his whining voice, and out in the vacuum of space, I don't think I'll hear it anymore. I think it's a good place to take him.
Excellent. And what I'd like to do, John, I don't know, I would imagine that the ship would have a complement of Enviro suits.
Yes, it does, yeah.
All right. So I'll kind of find him, and where kind of Flash standing over him, looking all angry at him, and I say to him, "Listen, friend, since you seem to be interested in this mysterious object, you get to come with us. So here, get this suit on.
He protests a little, but he does eventually climb into this environment suit. It's obviously, especially the faceplate, is quite uncomfortable for him. You can see his snout is squashed up against the inside of the clear faceplate of the environment suit. But
Yeah.
Beric is at least right about one thing. As he gets into the suit and the helmet's like locked into place, his whiny nasal voice does indeed fade away to a quiet.
And as sorry about this, but as Beric forces his trunk into the breathing apparatus, he says, "Is this putting your nose out of joint?"
The Kubas doesn't seem to get the humour of the situation. He goes, "Yes, it is!" And then his voice quickly fades away as you lock the helmet on.
Nice. And then I would have taken the binders off of him at that point to allow him to get into the suit, and then I actually put them back on and put his arms behind him, and I have, you know, sort of my blade in one hand, and I kind of am sort of pushing him with the other hand. But before I do that, I sort of toss the little scanner over to Beric, and I'd be like, you know, this thing seems to lead to where we need to go, or has some connection to it. So let's see if it does anything on the way. And I would imagine we kind of would have an idea, a general direction anyway, in which to head towards that building.
Yep. The reading seems to be emanating from the center point of the asteroid, and you can indeed follow it. It takes a couple of minutes for you all to get in the suits. You restrain Darpas as you've described. You all have obviously your weapons to hand, and you can use them with no problems in the environment suits. And the three of you head out onto this asteroid. Looking above you, you can see the blackness of space just stretching off, seemingly never ending, with these lazily slow floating chunks of planet. Occasionally you see a bit of what might have once been a building or a cliff or something like that lazily spiral past you. Everything's eerily quiet. Beric's scanning the area, looking around in case any of the TIE fighters put in an appearance, but they don't seem to be getting any closer to you. They seem to not want to come into this area of the asteroid. As you follow the signal, eventually you arrive at what appears to be... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just Beric will lead us through sort of... There are little asteroid bits and little debris from space falling onto this slightly larger asteroid, and Beric leads you through a sort of covered, slightly more sheltered route underneath the ridge to our destination. He's got survival and things. He's using the skills that he's picked up just to lead everyone a slightly safer route away from the debris that falls from space.
Okay, no problems. As you reach the area that's being indicated on the scanner, you head over what look to be the sort of foundations of what might once have been a building on this particular part of Alderaan. You can just about make out some sort of what must have once been fairly ornate carvings on these foundations, perhaps a building of worship or a very prestigious building, but now little remains apart from the shattered rubble of the foundations of the building. And in the center of it, looking quite out of place amongst the rocky exterior of this asteroid, is what appears to be a large metallic square set into the floor of the asteroid.
And I presume there's enough, gravity and whatever that we are sort of walking along, maybe hopping just a little bit. Okay. So, does this thing look like a door? Like it would have some kind of, it's a structure, clearly, it seems like.
Yeah. As you bend down to it, it would appear to be some sort of door. There's like a security sort of lock on the side of it. However, it's been badly damaged.
Okay. And
survived at all, given what happened to Alderaan.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so our unfortunate companion, I'll call him, bound as he is, I kind of kick his knees, the back of his knees, so he goes down to his back of his knees, so he's on his knees, and then I kind of push him over to the side a little bit, and put my combat knife away, pull out my blaster, and I look to Barrick and just kind of nod to him, like, do the same. And then I attempt to kind of ascertain, see if there's a simple way to open this door, get inside the structure.
Okay, make me a mechanics check, difficulty 3.
Alrighty. Wow.
Okay,
Lots of
not a
threats.
problem. So you've got 2 threats and 2 successes. So you are successful. As you basically have to hotwire this security lock and bypass several damaged portions of the control mechanism, but you're able to partially restore it. There still appears to be some power moving through the circuits, which is quite surprising. However, as you touch 2 exposed wires together, there's a sort of grinding sound of metal as this square trapdoor, I suppose, half opens. However, with your threats, you are taken by surprise when a blaster bolt fires out from somewhere within the depths of the area below this trapdoor towards you.
Okay, while this is going on, Austin's just in the cockpit, just checking scanners and stuff, and he'll just reach out over the comms to the guys on the asteroid surface and say, "How's it going, guys? What have you found down there?"
Okay, not a problem. You guys hear that coming through on the comm system. However, you have just taken 9 wounds, Sekas, minus whatever armor you may be wearing.
Right, yeah, which is none. Yay. Okay, thanks.
As literally there's this bright flash from what you see, Barrick, of blaster fire, and just this bolt hits Sekas dead in the chest.
Beric grabs Sekas and pulls him behind some cover. And is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive, but he's definitely hurt. And I would say that to the point that it's basically burned, and fortunately just on the surface, burned a slash across the spacesuit. And you can see him like patting himself, like, you know, whoa, and there is some blood, and actually you can hear this, and he kind of like puts his hand on the suit to keep the oxygen in, and he kind of looks over to the to the creature in front of us. And John, are we like looking down? Like, would there be like a ladder or something?
Yeah. Basically, you're stood on the asteroid. You're looking down through this half-open trapdoor. All you can see underneath it is darkness. You don't see any ladder or anything. However, since you were stood right next to it, Sekas, when the blaster bolt came out, in the brief illumination from the blaster bolt, you caught sight of something metallic. However, then you were thrown backwards by this blaster shot and didn't really get a good look at it. As you're sort of being picked up by Beric and you're patting yourself down, you hear Austin's voice come through on the comms go, "How's it going down there, guys?"
Beric's not actually answering Austin at the moment. He's rummaging through his belt, and he pulls out a stim pack and uses it. He uses it on Sekas to stimulate his health. There's a sort of glow of energy that goes from his. He goes and shoves it onto his chest, and there's this glow of energy goes from the top of his head down to his feet, and it restores 5 health.
That's correct. Sekas, you immediately feel sort of boosted up. It's like caffeine plus. You feel energy racing back to your limbs, and you do indeed, as Beric said, regain 5 wounds.
Excellent. And you can see sort of the tentacles kind of wiggle a little bit inside the suit, and you can see my eyes go wide for a minute, and this vein just sort of starts pulsing. And I look over, and through the little comm unit that we're connected to, I say, "Thanks, my friend. But now I don't fancy taking another shot like that. And I go over to our our unwilling companion, and I kind of half pick him up, and I literally like bring him toward the thing, and I kick him down into the, or attempt to anyway, kick him down into the structure. And if he falls down, what I'd like to try to do is, you know, see if there's like a ladder or something, and sort of like slide down as he's falling down, kind of creating that distraction.
Okay. Beric will basically follow and use the same plan.
Okay, not a problem. You kick the Kubaz down through the hole. As you hear the thump of him hitting the ground, there's another flash from below, and you, on the comms, you hear this, and then everything goes quiet. But you do pick up a faint sort of clanking, almost metallic sound. But as you can peer over the edge, in again the flash of the blaster fire Sekaz, you can see that there are sort of metal rungs set in the wall of this chamber that's below the trapdoor, which would serve as a perfectly workable ladder.
Okay, and is it set up in a way that I could potentially try to slide down the side of it, go rather rapidly? Yep. Okay.
It is indeed.
So I'd like to try to do that. Do you need me to roll anything?
No, that's absolutely fine. You slide down the ladder. As you do, there is another flash of blaster fire in the darkened chamber, and you briefly gain an impression of a large metallic figure stood over the unmoving form of your unwitting associate, sort of firing a blaster bolt like into his body.
As the blaster goes off, Beric will try and get his blaster focused on this creature and shoot him from above.
Okay, not a problem. Can you please make me your shooting roll? So it'll be ranged, light or heavy, depending on what weapon you're using. The difficulty will be 2.
I've got a blaster carbine, and I don't know whether that's heavy or light.
It's light.
Okay. So, just a second. Sorry about this.
No problems.
What's the difficulty?
The difficulty is 2.
Okay. So, can you see that?
I can indeed. Okay, so you have succeeded, but there is also a threat. So you fire your blaster down into the hole, so aiming at this figure that you'd briefly seen. There is a thudding sound as your blaster bolt connects with this figure, and it reels to one side with sparks flying out of it. In the illumination cast by the sparks, you can see there appears to be a large droid of some kind. One of its arms is a normal hand. The other appears to have been replaced by a large blaster-like weapon. The weapon was pointed down at the Kubaz, where it had just been like fired into its body. However, with your threat, it takes the bolt off yourself, like say sparks flying out at you, obviously hit some of its systems. It then perceives you as being a greater threat than the body on the floor or the quarren who's just landed at the bottom of the ladder, and it turns around and fires in your direction. Okay, and you will be taking 7 damage, so 7 wounds.
Do I roll for the soak, or does it just come off the 7?
The soak is just deducted.
Okay, so I take 4.
Okay, would you care to narrate how Beric responds to copping for this blaster shot?
So, yes, as the shot comes up, Beric sees a blast and blasts down at the thing, and it blasts back at him, catching him on the shoulder, and with his padded armor, his grey and black padded armor on his shoulder, sort of explodes. There's heat and sparks coming off it, and just singed flesh underneath as he grabs his shoulder and falls back behind cover, and then just with the edge of his arm, he just is about to shoot and then thinks, oh no, the tentacles is down there, and pulls back his blaster. He's not shooting blind.
Okay. Meanwhile, R2, Faldor, and Austin on board the ship, you will have obviously registered that there is blaster fire on the asteroid. You'll have seen the flashes out of the portholes. Faldor's plugged into the scanners, so you'll have definitely picked up the blaster fire. However, Faldor, now the trapdoor is open, you're also picking up that binary signal you detected earlier, but it's far stronger now. It appears to be, it's definitely in the language of droids, binary, and it appears to be security data and some sort of request for assistance.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part. There's some noise.
Okay, no problems.
What did you say?
It's basically a droid language signal, and it appears to be coming from an unknown source inside the asteroid. It's identifying that there are 3 threats to the facility security. 1 threat has been neutralized. It is requesting backup from something it refers to as home base.
Can I communicate with this droid, or?
Certainly, you could transmit a binary signal back.
Okay, so what do you want me to roll?
Well, it depends entirely on what you're going to be transmitting back to it.
I'm gonna say, don't shoot. They are friends. They want to help.
Okay. To this point, can you make me a negotiation roll? It's difficulty 4. Okay, the signal you receive back says negative, all threats to the facility must be neutralized.
Then can I send a message to my companions outside?
Yeah, you can certainly talk to them via the comms. That's absolutely fine. Just say what you want to say.
I'm gonna say, hey, it's a droid, and he wants you killed.
And you hear back over the comms, thanks, Faldor, we're aware. See if you can jam his transmissions.
Can I do that?
You can edit it. If you can make me a computer's roll, the difficulty is only 2.
2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay, so you don't succeed in jamming his signal. However, with the advantages you've got, you think that his signal's actually not going anywhere. You think he's trying to potentially signal to something that might once have existed on Alderaan, but it's obviously not there anymore. That's why you're picking up the signal, because he's just like broadcasting it to where it used to be, but obviously there's just a debris field of asteroids floating around now, so there's no one to pick up the signal.
Knowing that, I'm gonna try to say Alderaan's gone, and you may alert the Imperial, the Empire, and they don't gonna go come here so friendly as we are right now.
Okay, can you make me another negotiation roll? The difficulty is only 2 this time.
Whoa!
Okay, splendid. So a success and a fair few threats. The 2 of you who were in the asteroid, Beric and Sekas, well, Beric's up at the top of the ladder, Sekas is at the bottom. This huge droid with a gun attached to its arms, about 8 meters tall, is like walking towards you, aiming this gun arm at you, when suddenly it appears to stop and its head tilts to one side, and then in a very, you see like a a light flashing on its face as though it's saying something, although you obviously can't hear what it's saying. Faldor back on the ship, you pick up a signal from it saying, Imperial threat registered, commence destruction of facility.
We are not Imperial!
Sekas, you see the droid sort of pivots round and begins walking further into the darkness of this chamber, this room, this facility that you're in.
Yeah, and I at this point, and I'm assuming that the guy that we brought with us is dead at this point. He's been shot. Okay, so what I want to do at this point, and I have a special ability or a talent called Utility Belt, where I can spend 1 destiny point to perform a utility belt incidental and produce a previously undocumented item or weapon. What I'd like to do is produce a restraining bolt and see if I can somehow affix it to this droid so that essentially I can restrain him.
Okay, not a problem. Make me a mechanics roll. I'll say it's only difficulty 2 since he appears to be ignoring you at the moment to affix this restraining bolt to him.
And as he starts walking away, you hear a shout from the top of the ladder saying, "Yeah, not so tough now, you nerf-herding Jawa junk." Testosterone's kicked in again.
Yeah. John, did my roll show up? Did you see
yes,
it?
It did, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, you're not quick enough to slap the restraining bolt on it, but as you sort of follow it in with this restraining bolt, sort of the place only vaguely illuminated, but the sparks still flashing out of its side, you can see it appears to be walking towards an airlock-style door at the far end of the chamber. The chamber appears to be like sloping down into the asteroid.
All right. And does it appear to stop at the airlock and like open the door or something like that?
Yeah, it stops at the door. You see a line of red light issue from its head, which scans over the instrumentation panel. Then the doors slowly begin to creak open into a lit chamber beyond. You can see like flickering fluorescent lights beyond the doorway.
Barak jumps and grabs hold of the ladder and slides down after Sekas, ready to help him if he needs.
Okay, while that's going on, what's Austin up to on board the ship?
Austin's just starting to have a look around, actually.
As you're looking around, you notice a lot of the sort of Alderaanians are like, oh, they seem to have overcome their initial wonder at this miraculous sort of asteroid, and quite a few of them are going, oh, what are we hanging around for? We seem to have lost the Imperial ships. We should be getting out of here.
Okay, let me see. Would you require a roll on my behalf? I just want to calm them down, assure them that everything's okay, and we'll be leaving, in the near future, and situation normal. How are you?
Okay, yeah. Make me a negotiation roll. Difficulty 3.
Okay. Oh, a failure, but 2 advantage.
Okay, no problem. They don't seem to have calmed down. In fact, you hear a few of them going, well, I heard that some of them have gone onto the asteroid. There must only be a few people left on board. We could just take the ship and get out of here. And a couple of people in the crowd are like, yeah, we could, yeah.
My fellow Alderaanians, trust me, everything's under control. We don't need to hijack the ship. Everything's fine. Situation normal. And hoping that, because I'm an Alderaanian as well, that might come across a bit reassuring. I'll give them a crooked smile, I'll instigate me charm, and just reassure them that everything's fine. But I am actually looking around for something specific on the ship.
Okay, what is it specifically that you're looking for?
Check your messages.
Okay, let me just have a look. Right, okay, no problems. Make me a perception roll. Difficulty 3.
I would also like to flip a destiny point for this.
Okay, so upgrade one of your green dice to a yellow dice.
Okay. A success and a threat.
Okay, so with the success, you do indeed find it's a slightly rusty, slightly sort of disused version, but you do indeed find one of the said objects in one of the compartments in the quarters. It doesn't appear to have been used for a while, but it is a restraining bolt.
Awesome. Okay.
As you're sort of heading back out, you do indeed hear that the murmurs of discontent amongst the other Alderaanians are still sort of growing and sort of bubbling up into tensions. You can see a few people are sort of like looking around. You hear someone go, "Oh, has anyone got any weapons or anything?"
Okay, at which point, again with that just lightning speed, I'll draw my blaster and be like, yeah, I've got one. Guys, I've told you it's fine. Relax. I'm on this, and I'll kind of like wave the item at the crowd and just say, look, everything's under control. Don't worry.
Okay, that does seem to calm them down a little bit, and a few of them nod, knowing that you're an Alderaanian. When they see you pull out your blaster and say you've got everything under control, that seems to calm them down a little bit.
Cool. And yeah, if you want to jump back to the others, I think you know what I've got planned.
Yeah, I can make a guess. Okay, I will jump back to the others at the moment. So, Sekas and Beric, you are in this facility that appears to have been. It must have once been like a small, like underground facility, but now it rests deep in the heart of this asteroid. Sekas, as Beric sort of moves up behind you, watches this sort of large robotic figure walks into the flickering lights of this chamber beyond. It looks like it must have once been some sort of like a technician's workshop or sort of mechanical area, but you see large parts of the ceiling appear to have collapsed. The lights are sort of flickering on and off in a maddening strobing effect. You watch as this huge robotic figure walks over to what appears to be a partially functional computer terminal. It reaches out with its one hand and it starts typing on the keypad.
All right, and again, I will try to run up to it and put the restraining bolt on it if I can.
Okay.
And at the same time, as he's doing that, Beric runs up to try and distract it and get it so if it swings out at Beric, it'll expose the place that needs the restraining bolt. So basically, Beric's assisting Sekas to get the bolt in position.
Okay, splendid. Okay, Sekas, if you can make me a mechanics roll, it's difficulty 2, and you gain a blue bonus dice since Beric is distracting it.
All right, excellent.
Okay. Unfortunately, as it's being distracted by Beric, as you sort of reach up with the restraining bolt, it turns around and with one of its huge metallic arms sort of backhands you effectively, or at least it tries to.
All right. And I would say that it does actually, and at that moment, as it kind of backhands me, and I drop the restraining bolt, and it goes kind of clatters across the floor, and this whole time I'm like realizing now just what happened, what I did, the fact that I like slid down this thing, leaped into danger, killed this creature that I didn't even know. I'm in this facility with this dangerous droid, and yet I'm just fascinated. I'm like, this thing is so weird, and I imagine that this is maybe an older generation droid, It looks like
certainly
it may be
appears to be.
cobbled. Yeah, it looks like it's cobbled together, and I'm in this mechanical workshop. And I also realize at this point, well, all right, what kind of trouble could we really get in here? I mean, he seems to just be going further into this facility, and that's what we're trying to do anyway. And
Okay, and as
so,
you're thinking that, this huge metallic arm strikes you, causing you 4 wounds minus whatever soak you have,
okay,
sending you sort of flying several feet back. There's a cracking sound of your visor, and for a few moments you think that's me done. Obviously, if this faceplate goes, that's it. However, it just appears to have cracked slightly. It's not. The air still seems to be sort of inside your suit for the moment.
okay. And I realize at this moment that combat may be the only option, so I kind of scramble away a little bit.
Okay, the droid, so after it's backhanded you, turns back to this computer console and carries on typing. Faldor, you're on the scanner, Faldor, you're picking up a sort of build-up of energy inside the asteroid.
What kind of energy?
Okay, it's as though there's some sort of reactor or power plant inside the asteroid, perhaps previously shielded, and it appears to be building up to dangerous energy levels, almost as though it's like overloading.
I'm gonna tell Flash to come here to the cockpit so I can tell him what the scanners said.
Okay, Flash, would I be right in thinking that you're probably on your way to the cockpit?
Yeah, I'm heading back.
Okay, at which point the doors open. Faldor, you see Flash come walking in. What do you tell him?
I'm just gonna say about the reactor and what looks like, and I don't know. Should we message the guys about this, or you wanna go outside yourself and try to find it? While you are remain in the ship ready to depart.
Okay. So yeah, Flash will walk over and stand next to Faldor and kind of like look over like the screens and stuff. But at the same time, yeah, I'm just gonna slap something onto you.
Okay, not a problem. So, Faldor, can you tell me what your athletics skill is? You don't have to roll it, just tell me what it is. 2 green. Okay, in which case, you need to make me a mechanics roll, Flash, and the difficulty is 2 purple.
Mechanics. Okay.
This is for Flash, not for yourself, Faldor.
And again, I'd like to flip a destiny point.
Okay, so grade 1 of your dice.
You mean a mechanics check? Just what's the difficulty?
Okay, what did you roll, Flash?
3 success, 3 threat.
Okay, so you are successful. There's a sort of dull thunk and a hiss as something is attached to just the back of your head, R2C4, and you'll instantly be aware that it is a restraining bolt. Now, just to explain how that actually works in the game, normally if you attach it to like an NPC droid, whoever's holding the controller, i.e. in this case Flash, can basically go, do this, and an NPC droid has no chance to avoid it. If it's a player character droid and he says, do this, and you don't want to do it, you have to make a daunting, i.e. difficulty 4, discipline check to sort of fight against the restraining bolt to stop it from, if you don't want to do what you're being controlled to do. Okay, the restraining bolt is on him, Flash.
Okay. Flash will just tell Faldor. I'll just gently pat him on top of his round domed head and say, I don't think the guys need to know about the reactor right now.
Okay, so basically, Faldor, if you want to tell the guys about the reactor, you need to make a difficulty 4 discipline check and get at least 1 success.
Discipline. Okay, what's my discipline? I'm gonna try anyway, just because I think Alder would at least try, but probably not
Okay.
get anything.
Not a problem. Make your roll. Difficulty 4.
Failure.
Okay, not a problem. You strain against the restraining bolt, attempting to warn them. However, the restraining bolt's got that particular area of your subroutines on lockdown. I'm now going to jump back to the asteroid.
With his coordination, Beric tries to catch the restraining bolt that is falling when Sekas takes the slap. And
that's not a problem. You don't have to make a roll for that. You've easily got enough sort of athletics and brawn to do that. You just reach out and grab it out there.
And then, quick as a flash, he's trying to get it. As the robot turns around to slap Sekas, he's just trying to get it in place himself.
And if it's possible, I would like to actually fire my blaster at the droid, kind of at the same time to distract him and create an advantage. Yeah.
In which case, what we'll do is we'll do Sekas shot first. So if you want to make your ranged attack roll, difficulty is 2, since you're at such close range.
All right. Let me see. I've got range light. Okay.
Okay, now your shot does go off. It doesn't cause any damage to the droid bouncing off one of its large ablative plates. However, it does distract it slightly, which will give you, Beric, a blue bonus dice. So if you can make me a mechanics check, Beric, the difficulty is 2, and you have a blue bonus dice.
Have we got a destiny to use or not?
Yes, you have, if you want to use one.
I use it before the roll, do I?
I actually don't know if we do, because I had to use a destiny point for my thing, and I don't think I checked it off, and then Alan used his just now. So
I have to be honest, my dice roll is being a bit temperamental. I can't actually see the destiny pool at the minute.
yeah, so right now you have. Oh, then we don't. Yeah, we don't have any left. I've put it all to dark side at this point.
Yep. Okay. So it's just a straight roll.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah. All right.
Success, advantage, success, and failure. So is that one? Do they cancel each other out?
No, that's absolutely fine. You slap the restraining bolt onto this large droid. Now, obviously, Sekas, you're still holding like the other end, like the controller bit for it, since you just dropped the actual restraining bolt. But you hear the sk as it's attached to this large droid that's still sort of like typing on this panel.
Excellent. And I immediately say, stop.
At which point its fingers just stop moving and its hand remains hovered over the panel.
All right.
And Beric shouts, "We got it, R2! We got it!" And he's still excited.
Okay, you guys hear that over the comms to the ship?
Yeah, and then I tell the droid, back away, power down.
It takes 3 steps backwards, then goes.
Excellent. And then I'll attempt to go over to the computer and see if there's any kind of, like, if I can find a readout, find out what's going on.
Okay, as you move sort of around it, you can now actually see in more detail there's a strange device. It's like a large metallic box with various wires and output circuits emerging from the side of it that appears to have been sort of haphazardly attached to the computer. You can also see there's what appears to be a countdown on the computer screen, which is counting down from 30 seconds.
Yeah, and so for a minute I hesitate because I'm fascinated by this device and I wanna tinker with it and see what it is, but countdown timers are never a good thing. And so I think to myself, okay, this must be some sort of explosive or something even nastier is going to come out of here. Do we have time to get out of here in 30 seconds? And I ascertain that we don't, so I'm going to try to stop the countdown timer and disable this thing. Okay,
not a problem. Can you please make me a computer's roll, difficulty 3, and I'm going to flip a dark side to upgrade one of those to a red, so it's 2 purple, 1 red.
Oh, wow, nice. Thank you for that. Oh, man. All right. Why didn't I boost my intellect?
And Beric just hasn't noticed. He's just dancing around the immobilized robot going, I got you! I got you!
Okay. Unfortunately, your tinkering actually appears to have sped the countdown up.
Yeah.
You basically now got a couple of rounds before it reaches 0, and whatever happens, happens.
All right, and as this happens, Barrett can see just this look of panic on my face, and I quickly go to the little comm unit for the droid, and I'm like, power on, and I say, disable this thing, turn it off.
And I go through my comm device. R2, block this device, block the power up.
R2, they're dying in there.
Turn down all the garbage contractors. That kind of
thing. Okay, R2 and Flash are coming through the comm system of the ship. You hear Berek's slightly panicked voice saying, R2, shut down the power builder, shut it down.
Okay, Flash will go over the comms. What the hell's going on down there?
Okay, Beric and Sekash, you hear Austin Flash's voice saying, "What the hell's going on down there?"
Yeah. Oh, I was actually telling the droid that I had put the restraining bolt on to turn.
Oh yeah. It's slowly powering up and walking towards the.
Oh, okay.
Console.
Gotcha.
As it reaches the console, it reaches out its hand and goes. Presses a button on the keyboard effectively, and the countdown timer disappears. From where you're registering this on the ship, Faldo, you see that the power build-up slowly starts to subside and disappear.
I go to Flash and, okay, now the reactor is normal. Can you take off this thing from my head?
Not right now, Faldor. I might need you later on. And I'm going to sit.
No, I'm assuming he's pressed the mute button. Yeah, he's pressed the mute button. No one's silly enough to reveal their evil plans over a comm system. You have to be a major villain to be silly enough to reveal your plans.
Okay, so
monologue moment.
Yeah, I'm just gonna shout over my shoulder to the panicked Alderaanians. Don't worry, guys, we're getting out of here.
And I'll sit cheers and whoops.
Yeah, I'll sit down in the co-pilot's chair and start powering it up.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, make sure the airlock's closed and start firing up the engines, preparing to leave.
Okay. Meanwhile, back in the asteroid, Sekas, the countdown appears to have been terminated. The droid is still there with its hand extended to the keyboard.
All right, fantastic. And oh god, all right, we don't know that the ship is leaving. I presume we wouldn't be able to hear anything, right? We're too far underground.
No, okay. not to the depth that you're inside the asteroid at the minute.
Okay. So at this point, I'm actually somewhat elated and happy because this finally worked, you know. And so I'm like, I communicate with the droid because I presume that if he could speak binary and R2 spoke binary, I could somewhat understand them. Would that be accurate? Okay.
Yeah. That's
okay. True. So in that case, I kind of ask him, you know, what is this facility and what is here?
At which point it says that information is classified.
Interesting. And I say, reveal the information to me. I am someone that needs to know.
Okay, you've got the control unit. You say,
Yep.
reveal the information. It turns around and says, experimental stealth technology being developed by the Alderaanian United Science Department.
And I say, where is it located? Lead the way.
It points down at the box that's like hanging out the side of the computer.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. And so, looking to Barrick, I look to him and I say, did you understand that?
Beric nods, but you
Right.
can tell that he wasn't really paying attention.
They're like, okay, we need to get this thing and get out of here, quick. Help me. And so I start tinkering with it, trying to take it off and make sure that it's not, gonna like blow up or break.
Okay, make me a mechanics roll, difficulty 2.
Okay.
And I'll give him what assistance I can. I don't know if it helps
Let
at
me
all.
reroll. There we go. Sorry, I rolled the red one by mistake the first time.
Okay, so you will remove it. It's just going to take you a little bit of time because you're being like doubly careful, like you say. You know there's certainly some kind of reactor or something that necessitated a countdown in here, so you're being doubly careful. It is going to take you several minutes. So I'm going to jump over to Flash now. You've got everything powered up on the ship. There's about sort of 10 minutes in total since they left the ship has passed.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just want to, ship will hover up. I'm guessing that's what it does, and then, yeah, I just want to kind of start flying off through the comet field, like weaving my way through, and I will send a message over the comms. Guys, I'm sorry. We gotta go. I gotta get my fellow Alderaanians to safety. I'll be back. Hang tight.
And you hear, Sekis doesn't say anything over the comm. He, in fact, intentionally just uses the internal comm, and he looks to Barrick, and he's like, and he feels a little guilty saying this, but he's like, ugh, another core world human, doing what they do best, treachery and fleeing.
Well, if you like, I could make a deception roll just to see if he actually genuinely believes I will be back.
That's fine. I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up to Sekas whether he genuinely believes you'll come back at this point.
He won't. He will not believe you. It will take nothing to make him think that you're going to betray him. And so he says, "You better be a hell of a pilot. The Empire's swarming out there. You better come back."
As you're saying that, you actually feel the vibration running through the asteroid as the ship starts to rise up into the air using its maneuvering thrusters, the Midnight Runner Mark II, so that you so recently liberated from its previous owner. In an ironic twist, now appears to have been liberated once again as it slowly lifts into the air.
I'd like to ask you if, and I don't know if it's possible to do this or not, but if it's possible, I'd like to use my utility belt feature again, since I now have a destiny point again to play with, and potentially pull out a device that the previous owner of the ship had installed that would actually disable the ship in the event that it was being hijacked or something. Would that be possible?
I think that's probably a bit of a stretch for.
Okay, that's fine. Then would it be possible that it is a tracker and that I could at least find out where
that's
it
fine,
is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
you have a tracker installed.
Yeah. So I'll start tracking the ship then.
Okay.
Actually, hoping to see it blow up.
Okay, Flash. Are you piloting the ship out through the asteroid field, or is Faldor piloting it out?
Well, hang on. He just used the destiny point for something that couldn't actually be used for. So did that actually get used?
I used it to track it. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, I'll have Faldor do it, but I also want kind of to co-pilot it. So if I feel like the ship's going to suddenly career towards like an asteroid or something, I would be able to kind of override that.
Okay, Faldor, you're being urged by the restraining bolt to pilot the ship the hell out of this asteroid field. Are you going to
Do
attempt to
droids
resist
have
that, or are
any
you going to
sense
go
of
with it?
self-preservation? Just that, would he willingly try and sabotage the flight, or I know he might be doing it against his will.
Since he has a personality, as all player character droids do, they do have a sense of self-preservation. So it's very unlikely he'd just like mash it into an asteroid and try and blow you up along with himself. But if you want to resist the command to pilot it out, Faldor, you can do, or are you just going to pilot it out?
Fowler has this.
Before you say anything, Faldor, I'd just like to say Flash will. I want to say, look, we need to get out of here. This place is going to blow. We've got Imperials. We can come back, but we need to get out of here safely. And if you want me to make some sort of charm or deception roll to try and reinforce that.
Okay, yeah. Make me a coercion roll. Difficulty 3.
Well, you sure you don't want a deception?
If you want to use deception, you can do.
Yeah, I'd rather do that. Okay, alrighty. 2 successes and 3 threats.
Okay, Faldor, he does sound very sincere in what he's saying, that he will come back for your companions.
Fowler has this motivation, that is relationship with the comrades. So he knows there is the restraint bolt in him, but I believe since this is one of his motivation, he would try to at least memorize the location of the asteroid.
That's fine. You don't need a roll for that or anything. As a droid, you have a perfect memory recall. That's not a problem. If you're the one, it'll be easier if you're the one flying it out, because you'll obviously know all the coordinates you've taken, etc.
Yeah, I'm connected to the ship, so I don't know if Flash has the pilot or it's me. Anyway, I'm gonna record every motion.
Okay, would you like to make me a pilot space roll then, Faldor? The difficulty is 1 purple, 2 red, as previous.
Oh, that wasn't on purpose.
Okay, not a problem. You've taken the ship off, however, due to the you are sort of piloting it out, however, due to the dense sort of packing of these asteroids in this area, you're having to move quite slowly since you've not got speed built up to enable you to do the fancy acrobatics. So you're having to you are moving out, but you're very slowly having to thread your way around the asteroids and slowly sort of starting to pick up speed. Okay, meanwhile, guys in the asteroid, the vibrations from the ship appear to have ceased.
And I look to Barrick, and I'm just like, you can just tell there's this hunted look now on my face, like the last thing I want to do is be trapped again. But I would presume at this point I managed to kind of get that little stealth unit off.
Yeah, you've unplugged it, you're holding it, it's about this sort of size, size of a sort of basketball.
Yep. And I actually don't say anything to Barrick because, again, it's that sort of awkward moment. I don't necessarily know how to interact, and I'm feeling just this sense of betrayal and kind of hating on humans right now. And so what I do is I actually turn back to the computer console, and I try to ascertain what sort of life support system, if any, would be in here and how long we might possibly be able to survive.
Okay, looking at the computers, you believe that if you sealed the door to this chamber, you could potentially survive for up to 5 days in here.
Okay.
That's not taking into account any sort of like food or water requirements.
Right, right, of course. And is there some kind of technical readout that would show what this, what this facility is, or if there are multiple rooms or anything like that?
Okay, you've accessed the computers previously, and also you've now got the droid sort of under your thumb, so that's not a problem. I won't make you make a roll for it. Accessing it, you can see that it was a very small sort of two-room facility. It was kept small to sort of avoid attention, effectively, since there was a lot of controversy about whether Alderaan actively supported the rebellion, so they were under close amounts of Imperial scrutiny before the destruction of Alderaan. Perhaps they were trying to hide something down here. You would know from your travels that the Alderaanians aren't typically a very sort of warlike people. So it appears that they were trying to maybe find an alternate way to sort of help the rebellion rather than just giving them a load of weapons and ships. But they were trying to keep it on low key and keep it all concealed in small facilities.
All right. And at this point, I'm all out of ideas, and so I look to Barrick and I say, well, listen, my friend, if I seal this door, we might survive about 5 days, although I don't know what kind of food and water there might be in here. However, and I hesitate, and I it's like it's taking every bit of effort to say this. I'm like, I mean, the Empire is here looking for this. I suppose we could hail them. What do you think?
Oh. Beric says, I need a drink to think.
I do too, my friend, but I'm not sure. And then I say, wait a minute. And I look around, and if it's at all possible, I would look to tinker some, homemade hooch or something.
Yeah.
Filter the hydraulic fluid from the droid, and all that.
Yeah, I would say you could probably just about scrape together enough water and to sort of last you the 5 days, effectively.
All right.
It wouldn't be pleasant, but you could do it.
Okay. Yeah, and so as we're sort of drinking and tinkering and whatever, I'm like, well, I suppose we could wait it out. I mean, it's not likely that traitor Flash will come back, but maybe the Empire will get him, and they'll know that he doesn't have anything, and they'll come down here looking, and well, we got a battle droid of some kind here. Maybe we can fight our way out or sneak our way out. What do you think?
Sneak. I don't think we can't fight our way past the Empire.
Yeah, I know. And unfortunately, I don't... Unless they land one of those TIE fighters. Although I don't know if I'd have enough luck to steal another ship.
We can steal a TIE... I can fly a TIE fighter. I think this is our best option.
Okay, so Flash, can I assume that you're indeed not returning for these people and you're just planning on getting the hell out of Dodge?
Well, once we've negotiated our way out of the astrofield, I want to plot a course to Tatooine and jump to hyperspace. How long will that take to get to Tatooine? I don't know where the hell we are and where Alderaan used to be. I'm not.
It's going to take you at least a few days there and a few days back.
Okay, well, I'll kind of like do some mental math, and I'll plot a course to Tatooine. Maybe I can be back in time before they perish.
Okay, can you make me an astrogation roll, please?
I think I'll let Faldor do that.
Okay, Faldor.
The guy who's been rolling nothing but failures and threats. I like it.
What's the difficulty?
It's difficulty 2.
A triumph.
Oh, he just nails it.
That's absolutely fine. What I'm going to say is, with that triumph, it actually only takes you 3 days total journey to get to Tatooine and back, with a day to drop off the refugees effectively. So after, on the 4th day, are you heading back? Now you drop them off, or are you?
Once we land on Tatooine, I'm going to just, head to take Faldor with me. We're going to go to a cantina, and I'm going to ask, see if we can find some Jawas that are willing to do a bit of business.
Okay, no problems. And that is where we will leave you for the moment, as you're making your deals with the Jawas. Meanwhile, back on the asteroid, 4 days have passed for Beric and Sekat. It's been a fairly miserable 4 days where you've been living on this siphoned hydraulic fluid from this now quite sort of badly malfunctioning combat droid. You've also managed to find a few small scraps of surviving rations that were obviously kept down there by the scientists while they were doing their work, although it's meagre fare indeed. You're both feeling quite weak and sort of shaky. However, as you're sort of both waking up on the 4th day, you wake up Sekas to find the large droid sort of stood looming over you.
And I definitely scramble back, although not nearly as quickly as my mind is trying to get me to it. And I'm fumbling with the little thing, but before I can actually push the button and give him any kind of command, if he's going to speak.
Okay, the droid's metallic voice comes through on your comm system in your suit, and it says, "We are picking up a signal."
What signal? Tell me more.
Standard Imperial communication protocol.
What is the message?
Relaying, at which point a different voice comes through on the comms, and it says, "This is Commander Darmo of the Imperial craft Vindicator. 2 wanted criminals. Are you receiving me?"
And I look to Beric, and I say, "Tell me about that plan of yours again."
There are panels here. I've been checking around this place. There are panels that we could hide in that they wouldn't expect us to be in. We might be able to sneak out whilst they're coming in here for whatever they need and get on board the TIE fighter or whatever it is they're landing on, and I can pilot the TIE fighter and get out of here. It's a long shot, but it's about the only chance I can see.
The slightly condescending voice on the comm system continues. "If you are receiving this, you will surrender any Imperial property you've discovered in this asteroid field and surrender to Imperial justice, or we will target the asteroid with our turbo lasers and destroy it. You have 5 minutes to comply."
Send a broken message, cutting in and out, saying surrender, and we'll just hide and see what happens. Hide
Okay.
near the entrance.
About 15 minutes pass.
We'll leave the base in our environmental suits, the survival suits, and hide somewhere near the best place to land on the asteroid after sending out the survival surrender.
And in fact, what I would like to do is instruct the droid to stay in the facility and to wait until the Imperial troops come into the facility, hailing them and letting them know where to come, and then to fire on them when they get in there.
The droid's mechanical voice says, "Received and understood."
Excellent.
So you guys are sort of concealing yourselves around the entrance using the natural surroundings. Can you both make me a survival roll, difficulty 2, see how well you conceal yourself?
I just want to check one thing. Just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I've got passive survivalist. I add a square per rank of stalker to all. I've got a talent as stalker.
Okay, so you get a blue bonus dice to your roll.
Yep.
Okay. The two of you conceal yourselves.
Oh, I haven't rolled mine yet.
It's fine, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, that's not right.
It's all right, no problems. Okay, so you've got 2 advantages and 2 successes overall, by the look of that. Okay, the two of you conceal yourself using the rocky surroundings of the asteroid. And as 15 minutes pass, you watch as 3 TIE fighters land on the asteroid. Then a single figure climbs out of one of them, clad in the black overalls, the large helmet, the tube arrangements, etc., common to an Imperial starfighter pilot. You can see he's holding a light blaster pistol in one hand, and he starts. You see he's looking at some sort of scanner in his hand. He waves it around and stops as it points at the trapdoor. He puts a hand up to his ear. He's obviously communicating on some sort of comm link that you can't hear. Then with his pistol held up, he starts moving towards the trapdoor. As he reaches the edge of it, you watch as what seems to be just a large metal hand with an arm attached to it, just literally like reaches out of the hole, grabs hold of the front of his face, and pulls him into the trapdoor and the darkness beyond. Then you hear a
Using my knowledge of the sight lines from a TIE fighter, I've been approaching one of the others that are still manned to get up to it, basically stealth and then break into it as quickly as possible. But using sort of the blind spots of a landed TIE fighter.
Okay, well, since you got 2 advantages on your last roll, can you make me a stealth roll, difficulty 2, and you will get a blue bonus dice?
Okay, just a second. And I get another one just because of my stalker attribute, so I should get 2.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that correct?
That's a stunning roll.
Oh, hang on, sorry, I didn't do the two difficulties.
Okay.
I don't even think you need them at this point with a triumph and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that for now. Would you care to narrate how you deftly creep up to this TIE fighter unnoticed? And if you wish, with that roll, you can deal with the person inside in whatever manner you choose fit.
Yep, just like a shadow, he passes. He actually follows as a drifting asteroid or drifting bit of space debris goes over and creates a shadow. The sunlight creates a shadow over this asteroid. He just follows, Beric just follows that shadow, so you actually can't see anything as it just drifts across the surface of the asteroid. He drifts with it and enters the rear entrance to the TIE fighter. There's a little as the door opens to the TIE fighter, and the moment the door opens, there's just a and the guy slumps down on his commands. Almost the moment he slumps down on his commands, Beric's got the comm system in his hand to respond to any questions that are asked if they heard anything.
Okay, with that roll, the unfortunate pilot doesn't even have time to like look up or shout into his comms as your blade goes into him and deals with him. He's sort of slumped over. With your fantastic roll, no one's noticed you, so there's minimal comm chatter going on. They appear to be maintaining some form of radio silence. Whilst that's going on, what's Sekas doing?
Well, up until he narrated successfully getting into the TIE fighter, I was going to ask if we could use his fantastic success to include Sekas in this stealth roll, but I think actually we won't in this case.
You could certainly have a blue bonus dice.
Yeah, I will do that, but I think that what happened was Barrick had this single focus, right? He was going, he was ready to get to this TIE fighter and escape, and Sekas is not as, while his willpower is quite strong, he's got a lot of fear in his background. He's got a lot of anger and bad feelings towards the Empire, and he's just terrified that he's going to get caught. And he hesitates just enough. That and the exhaustion and the hunger and the thirst and whatever. And then realizing what's happening and kind of gathering his wits, he will try to follow along.
Okay,
so I'll make a stealth roll. Okay.
Yeah, you get a blue bonus dice.
With one blue. All right. Fantastic.
Difficulty 2.
All right.
Okay, not a problem. You have successfully sort of crept up to the point where you're just sort of like behind where the opening to the cockpit of the TIE fighter is. However, since you didn't get such a fantastic roll, you've still got the guy inside to actually deal with.
Right. And because there are two typically, right, in the TIE fighter?
No, these are just one-man fighters. It's the bombers that have two people.
Oh, they're one-man fighters. Okay.
So just let me get this clear. Has he gone to the other TIE fighter, or has he come into the one that I got into?
Well, it's up to you, Sekas. Have you gone for the same one as Beric, or have you gone for the one where the guy's already left it?
Well, no, I suppose if these are the one-man TIE fighters, then I would imagine there really isn't room to get into that. And I do know how to pilot, so... And they're all three, they're standard TIE fighters, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, they do not have hyperdrives?
I'll have to actually check that. I'm not entirely sure.
I can't remember if it's they don't have shields or they don't have hyperdrives, because depending on that, I'll have to figure out.
I don't believe they have hyperdrives, no.
I don't think they do, because yeah. So, all right. So knowing that I could try to, yet again, steal a ship, but I don't have a hyperdrive, and I don't have a droid, an astromech droid to help me, I hesitate again. I'm not sure that I want to necessarily get into this thing, but I kind of have to. So I do. I will enter the ship and attempt to kill, if I need to, the pilot inside.
Oh, you could always go for the one where the occupant's already left, the guy who got...
Oh, yes, I'll definitely do that then.
Okay, no problem. You jump into that. No worries. Okay, so after the 3 TIE fighters, we now have Beric in one, Sekas in another, and an Imperial fighter pilot in the third. Beric, a voice cuts through on the comms, which Sekas will hear as well on the comms of the TIE fighter, saying, this is TIE Fighter 316. We've encountered resistance on the asteroid. Suggest dispatching additional squadron of fighters.
And Sekas is like, over our internal comm, not caring if possibly the Empire might pick it up at this point. He says, all right, my friend, we got to get out of here. But let me try something first. But we need to destroy this other TIE fighter. And so as I say that, I look around and see if there's any way that I can install this stealth device on my TIE fighter in a way that would feasibly work as a cloaking device.
Okay, make me a mechanics roll. It's difficulty 3, 2 purple, 1 red.
Okay, give me just a second. Because no, okay. Yeah, I don't have anything that can help me in that case. Yes, mechanics roll, difficulty 3, 2, purple, 1 red, you said?
That's correct.
Yikes. All right. Ooh, do we have a destiny point available?
No, because I've just flipped that this turn.
Ah,
to make
you
one
did,
of yours
okay.
red.
Three threats. That's fitting.
Okay. With your 3 threats, unfortunately, as you've been tinkering around trying to do this, and you're making your comm to Beric, you've accidentally knocked the internal comms on, and you hear this voice go, "Who is this? Identify yourself."
And would I...
We're fine. How are you? That's
Small reactor leak here. Everything's fine.
Okay. Can one of you please make me a deception roll? Difficulty 3. One of those is red.
I imagine I would not be the best person for this.
Okay, go for it, Beric.
I'll go for it, but I'm not going to be the best person either.
You do have a destiny point available if you wish.
Yes, situation normal. TK421, why are you not at your post?
Oh, sorry. So, what did you say? What's the difficulty?
The difficulty is 2 purple, 1 red.
2 purple, 1 red. And let me just check my deception.
And as I say, you do have a destiny point to use if you wish.
What do you think? I'll use the destiny point.
Okay, I'll click that over for you. There we go. So make your roll.
And John, mechanically, when it comes to using a destiny point, do you have to use it before the result of the roll to upgrade your dice?
You do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, miraculously, with his knowledge of Imperial protocol, Beric actually does a fairly good impression of an Imperial pilot, and you hear the voice sounding a bit unsure, say, "Fine, I've requested reinforcements from the Vindicator, picking up blaster fire from within the structure."
It was a blaster malfunctioning. No need to send backup.
The signal has already been sent.
And I guess as that's happening, and I quickly shut off my comm, and not feeling confident at all that we will be, especially with new TIE fighters coming in, I will attempt to, if I think it's possible, to install that stealth device one more time.
And I'll just turn my cannons on the TIE fighter that's got a pilot in it.
Okay, well, you can make me a gunnery roll, difficulty 2, Beric, and Sekash, you can make me the same mechanics roll. Although there won't be a red this time, it'll just be purple because I'm not flipping a destiny.
All right, so then I guess I already rolled, but I guess we ignore 2 of the threats.
Yeah, that's fine.
So.
Okay, you have installed the device. However, it's obviously built to use a much larger sort of power system than is in the engines of the TIE fighter, and it's slightly damaged. You can tell with the beaten up casing of the device. Unsurprising, given that the facility had partially collapsed. But you think you've just about got it set up. How long it's going to last, whether it'll overload any of the fighter's systems, you're not sure. But it's as good as it's going to get.
All right. And I kind of give this half-hearted whoop, not able to fully put any kind of force behind it because I'm just exhausted at this point. But over our internal comms, I say, all right, Beric, light him up, and let's get out of here.
Right, then I got 3... The cannons of my TIE fighter or whatever it is just turn on the other one, and there's a... What the? And the thing goes up in smoke.
Indeed, it does. There's a loud explosion, which is even more eerie in the silence of the atmosphereless space, and you watch as bits of this exploding TIE fighter sort of disappear off into space as they break free of the minimal gravity of the asteroid, leaving just the two of you sat in your TIE fighters. However, as you watch Sekis as this explosion sort of fades away, you see the large metallic figure of the robot climbing out of the trapdoor, at which point it starts sort of like pointing its gun towards one of your TIE fighters.
Oh, and I presume... Well, I don't actually know, and seeing that, I will attempt to use the restraining bolt comm to say, ceasefire, put down your weapon.
And
It lowers its arm.
What's that?
It lowers its gun arm down and just stands there.
Beric says, "Here goes nothing," and takes off.
Okay, make me a pilot space roll. The difficulty is 2 purple, 1 red.
2 purple, 1 red. Just a second.
Ooh, are you flipping destiny points on us again?
No, this is just a very densely packed asteroid.
All right.
What was it? Piloting space, did you say?
That's correct. And let me know what you get. Oh, there we go. Okay, not a problem. You watch Sekas as Beric's TIE fighter takes off. It's sort of wobbling a bit side to side. It's not entirely stabilized, but he sort of manages to lift it off a few feet from the asteroid. What are you doing, Sekas?
I'm going to attempt the same. Try to get out of here, but I'm going to try to activate the cloaking device first, in any hopes that it'll work. And if it needs to, I will divert power from the weapon systems, since I don't anticipate being much use to cloak.
Okay, not a problem. You activate the device, or as far as you're aware, you do, and you do divert power from the weapons, and you watch as like a sort of almost like a sort of shimmering field. You know how like occasionally you'll see like the sort of rainbow reflections in a blown bubble sort of appears in front of your visor window. From where you are, Beric, you watch as the outline of the TIE fighter next to you seems to shimmer slightly, and then it disappears. And Sekas, can you make me a pilot space roll, please? Difficulty 2 purple, 1 red.
All right, so 2 advantage.
Okay, cloaked by the strange device you installed, you start threading your way through the asteroid field, heading away from where the large Imperial ship was. However, for Beric, who is not cloaked by any sort of strange technology, you will need to make me one more pilot roll to escape from the asteroid field without being spotted by the Imperial forces. Same difficulty.
Beric isn't actually going to try and escape. He's just going to try and land on another large asteroid and wait. Just turn down all the power and just wait until they clear off. He'll do a sort of, a Boba Fett, where he's just sitting on some junk and waiting for them all to go to hyperspace.
Okay, in which case I'm going to ask you to make me a deception roll. The difficulty will be 3.
Do I need to make a piloting roll to land on an asteroid first?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so just a deception.
Yeah.
When I say just a deception. And what was the difficulty, did you say?
3. 3 purple.
3. There are no force points to use, are there?
Yeah, there's one there.
I'll use one then.
Okay, I'll flip that for you. So upgrade one of your green dice to a yellow dice.
Ah, that's what you do. Okay.
That's fine. Okay, not a problem. You successfully land and power down on one of the asteroids. Now, Sekes, you've seen from your cloaked position, you've seen Berek sort of land on a smaller asteroid, grapple on, and power down. What are you doing?
Oh, I am nervous because I don't want to hail him over the communication for fear that the Empire will pick it up. But I don't think that that's a good idea. Just in the same position we were in before, and 2 missing TIE fighters isn't likely to result in the Empire just going away, as far as I know of the Empire. So I'm trying to ascertain whether or not it would be possible for me to either land on the Star Destroyer or somehow land in one of the bays or somewhere without being seen.
It would be very unlikely that you'd be able to land in there without being seen. Obviously, you are cloaked, but they would pick up a ship that entered through the force field over the docking bay. They'd certainly register something passing through there, even if they couldn't see what it was.
Yeah, and so what I'm wondering in that case is similar to the stories that I've heard of. Oh, actually, I don't know. Never mind. I'm not going to say that because I don't know where that was in the films. I get the idea that maybe trying to get up on type, like on their sensor array or something. But I don't know how agile this ship is. If I would be able to somehow kind of like connect onto the outside of the ship.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Make me a piloting roll. It's only difficulty 3, purple.
Okay. All right, dear God, let's do this. Oh.
Okay, you start making an approach towards the sort of large Imperial vessel, threading your way through the actual asteroid field till you're like on the same side as this large Vindicator class Imperial cruiser. However, as you're getting a bit nearer, you can't see any sort of clear place where you could grapple on without being noticed.
Okay. I will then at that point attempt to sort of stay like hovering above the ship, flying as much as I can, just to see what happens, just to wait.
Okay, that's not a problem. And what happens, just to tie up, as you rightly say, the loss of a number of Imperial TIE fighters does not lead to the Imperial forces going away. They comb the asteroid field, eventually locating Berek's ship, and he is dragged aboard the Imperial cruiser. However, as the Imperial cruiser makes its way into hyperspace, having swept the asteroids and determined that the item they're after is no longer there, but not having picked you up, Sekes, because you're using it, as the ship jumps into hyperspace, the cruiser, you're finally able to grapple yourself onto the Imperial cruiser, and you are carried along with it into hyperspace, possibly to attempt to rescue Berek at a later date. But that would be another story. And as we close this session, the Imperial cruiser leaving into hyperspace with one prisoner and one unknowing passenger, somewhere in a seedy cantina on Tatooine, a scoundrelous looking human by the name of Flash and his slightly unwitting R2 companion are sat there listening to the weird strains of alien music, and the thought crosses Austin's mind, and he just thinks, I wonder if they did make it out of that asteroid field. And that's where we will end this session, guys. Thank you very much for playing. I hope you all enjoyed the game. It's been my pleasure to run it for you. If anyone has anything they want to say before we end the broadcast, plug your channels, etc., feel free.
I would like to add one last thing.
Very nice.
Okay,
Just
thanks for watching, guys. I'm Alan, playing dirty scoundrel, Flash. I didn't mention it at the start. I don't have my own YouTube channel, but I do play a few games with my friend Devon, and he can be found at What the Dice. He's also a member of the Tides of Change, so feel free to check out his games.
Okay, that's great. Beric, do you have any closing words as you're dragged up in front of the Imperial authorities?
Beric is dragged up, cursing and spitting at them. But I'd just like to say thank you, John, for running this. It's my first game of Edge of the Empire. I very much enjoyed it. I've enjoyed playing with you guys, the other 3 players too. And I'd be interested in playing again.
Thank you very much.
And I don't have a channel to plug, but just thank you.
No problem at all. Okay, Sekas, or as we know him, Sam, do you have anything to say? Obviously, feel free to plug your channel, etc.
Thank you. Yeah, and so I would imagine just sort of as an outro scene, Sekas is, latched onto the communications array on this Imperial cruiser as it goes into hyperspace, conflicted again, but realizing that he's not likely to be ever able to save that Twi'lek woman from freedom, but maybe, just maybe, he'll have an opportunity to return that favor and save Beric, the human who didn't betray him, the man who went out of his way to help him. And so, as he sits there with this dread just emanating over him, just dripping sweat down in his suit, at the prospect of having to infiltrate an Imperial cruiser, that's where his scene ends. Yeah, no, I just want to say, John, that was an awesome session. Thank you very much. That really felt like Star Wars, and it felt very much like an Edge of the Empire game with betrayal and, Imperial intrigue and seedy people all over the place. That was phenomenal. Thanks for answering my call for a game. Yeah, I run the YouTube channel Chalice and Chains. Check it out, and hopefully we will get to see these characters in action once again.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but by no means least, our favourite R2 unit. Do you have any final closing words, bleeps or whistles?
Traitor! Just kidding. I'm just gonna thank you guys. This session was awesome, and I hope we see each other again in the game, in the continuation of this game or other games that there is to come. And
thank you very much. Okay, I've been John from...
Before you do, I want to reassure Faldor not to worry. We will see each other in games again, because I'm striking a deal with the Jawas. They're going to wipe your memory and you're going to be my new best friend. So yeah, the adventures of Flash and Faldor will continue, hopefully at some point in the future.
Okay, excellent. As I say, I've been John from Red Dice Diaries. This has been an Edge of the Empire game titled The Graveyard Shift. Just want to give a thanks to my excellent players for playing on. I hope you've all enjoyed the game. Certainly sounds like you did. I've had a great time running it, very much appreciated, and to the people who've stuck with watching this, and for everyone who voted in the tide change halfway through. So with that done, we're just going to say goodbye, and I'm going to stop the broadcast here. I'm obviously okay to chat with you guys for a bit afterwards, and I will give you some XP in case you use these characters in a future game I run. So until we see you all next time, take care. Bye bye.